Hello. YouTube changed some of the streaming settings. That's why it took longer. It has been like a month since I streamed on YouTube. Here I am. Let me also say it on YouTube quickly. Give me like a second, guys. If the audio is good, let me know. Oh, let me open chat as well. You can't see chat, right? You're gonna start reading in like a few minutes. Nightwalker, Monkey Taco, Alma, what's up? Audio better than XQC. Hello, username. Long time no see. How are you? Test. Wait, test. Yay! There we go. Should we start? Chapter 149, by the way. Hello, Keizryu. Masters made it, let's go. Let me fit this on the screen. Can you see, guys? That's sick. Oh. Okay, Masters. And 49, not 1. What's the title? You mean this thing? Lucy Rem! Long time no see. Actually, no. I think you saw in Apothecary Diaries quite recently. Anyway, let's start. So, quick recap what happened last time. Dolly had a talk with Klein. Also, Klein is right now meeting with Don Smith. Don Smith already knows of the acting method. He was scaring Klein in the last episode. Also, we learned that Isaac is ancient and was the Baron of the castle. We know that from the anime, or sorry, the donghua, but we don't. But in the novel, we just caught up to it. No chapter title, no chapter number in title. That's fine. It's gonna keep. It's people have to open the live stream to see what chapter I'm at. This is like next level tactics. How's the music, by the way, before we jump into 149? Also, I got that. If there's no new people here, I got diagnosed with autism and ADHD. So now I'm taking ADHD medication, which means I'm gonna be more locked in. So let's go. Direct hint. Klein looked at the serious Stan Smith and smiled suddenly. Captain, I understood something yesterday. And what is that? Dunn repeated the question in serious tone. He leaned back and unfolded his crossed arms. Klein recalled the script that he had prepared. As I was concluding my past experiences, I realized that the names of sequence potions encompassed a whole set of principles that can help us gain control over them, a set of principles that allow us to avoid the negative impacts. And we're doing things according to this set of principles, we seem to become a member of the corresponding job. Here we go. Similarly, these sets of principles are hidden. They aren't made known to you indirectly. All we can do is make conclusions from the corresponding job bit by bit, then adjust our understanding based on a different feedback we receive. Thus, when I became a real seer at Divination Club and obtained my set of principles for the seer, the authority and visual illusions that plagued me just vanished. That's what I understood. After finishing his narration, Klein heaved a sigh to himself. He said everything he needed to say, other than explicitly mentioning the term acting. Ugh, let's hope that the captain doesn't tell the church that I've already developed such ideas. When he is asked, that will place much more attention on me. Also the factor of the relationship between the seer pathway and the Anticonus family. That might cause trouble eventually, but the captain has also experienced all kinds of situations. And is an experienced and smart person. Once he understands the acting method, he'll definitely notice that the church is hiding relevant information. He'll know what he should say and what he shouldn't. Klein had many complicated thoughts. Autism and ADHD, yeah. Wait, I'm at the right chapter. Let's double check. I remember, I have deja vu for this chapter. I'm pretty sure it's 149. Yeah, it should be. Let me just open the Patreon post. I'm so late. You're not. You're late by 5 minutes.
We had Derek.
Yeah, it is 148. 39. It took me 6 months. It was free. It helps a lot, by the way, with study, reading, editing, everything. If you are taking ADHD medication, but you have to make sure you have it first by a psychiatrist. Anyway, yeah, we are right place. After finishing his narration, Klein heaved a sigh to himself. He said everything he needed to say, other than explicitly mentioning the term acting. Yeah. This might... There's also the factor of the relationship between the seer pathway and the Anticonus family that might cause trouble eventually, but the captain has also experienced all kinds of situations and is an experienced and smart person. Once he understands the acting method, he'll definitely notice that church is hiding relevant information. He'll know what he should say and what he shouldn't. Klein had many complicated thoughts, but he quickly made a decision and had a plan. And the captain was still unable to understand the acting method or sense the cover-up by the church, then I'll tell him straight up before submitting the special application. Yes, I'll probe him. Probe is a crazy word. First to determine what he knows. Dunn listened to Klein's description in silence, his grey eyes becoming even deeper. He was silent for nearly 20 seconds as he rubbed his temples before he picked up on his pipe and took a whiff. Picked up his pipe. After he took out matchbox, seemingly forgetting about the rules of the Nighthawks. The white smoke billowed in the air as Dunn closed his eyes, seemingly appreciating the smell of tobacco. After a while, he opened his eyes and smiled at Klein. I'm sorry, I forget that you don't smoke. Smoking is bad for your health, Klein answered in all seriousness. Dunn thought with his pipe in his hand. I seem to have understood something too. No, Captain, you don't understand anything. I just don't loiter in my dreams too often. Klein didn't speak and instead gave a friendly smile. Perhaps it won't be too long before you submit a special application to me, Dunn said to Klein half-jokingly, as he took a deep puff of the mint and tobacco. Can I submit it tomorrow? Klein replied inwardly. He took out his pocket watch and looked at the time. Captain, I have to be at Old Neil's today. Today's mysticism class lessons are starting soon. Alright, Dunn watched Klein leave, his pipe still in hand. After closing the door of the captain's office, Klein made his way towards the steps leading to the basement in high spirits. He saw two strangers, a male and a female, when he walked past the clerk's office. Roselle? Roseanne did say there's a new clerk, right? The new clerks, Klein mind wondered before he added inwardly. In another 2 days, definitely within this week, I'll submit my application to Captain. Then I'll pass a series of inspections and become a Sequence 8 clown. What is Sequence 7, right? We still haven't had a reveal yet. I think it's, what is a trickster or a magician? Along the silent underground passage, Klein turned to the armory and pushed the guard room door open. What happened to you? Klein had a shock when he saw old Neil. Old Neil, what happened? Old Neil looked dispirited, his face was pale. Oh, because of Havre. Havre died. I mean, Havre is not really a character in the novel, but the lost control, remember, his friend? Circus manager? That will be like Sequence 4 or Sequence 3 will be Circus manager. I think Sequence 1, by the way, I don't know how many of you guys remember my theories or my guesses, but I think Sequence 1 is Lord of Mysteries or The Fool. That will be so fucking cool. He yawned constantly as he said, I've been a little constipated lately. Ugh. I tried ritualistic magic that can solve such problems. Last night, in the end, I didn't sleep well the entire night. I had to head to the bathroom multiple times, and I nearly fell asleep on a toilet bowl. Remember when old Neil farted in the old Neil lessons, by the way? Remember that? Well, the problem of constipation has been solved. Klein nearly laughed, seeing that it wasn't a serious problem. But he controlled himself. He asked, are you feeling better now? At the same time, his concern made him tap his left molar twice. He used his spirit vision to observe the aura of Unc Neil's health. There's some darkness and impurities in the digestive system, yellow and kidneys orange colors, but it's nothing too serious and it's within acceptable range. Klein heaved a sigh of relief. Okay, that's good. I'm fine now. I got some medicine for diarrhea. Fuck's sake. From Fry. Old Neil yawned like a drug addict. Self-study for today's supernatural lesson. There's only 2 or 3 days left of content anyway. Alright, Klein responded politely. I could help you guard the armory and study here. How about you go rest in the break room? Unc Neil immediately straightened his back, his eyes glimmering, and answered, Lad, you surely are the kindest Nighthawk. Second to Fry. Bro, what? How many chapters? At least 8. I'll hand the armory over to you. He picked up the I'll hand the armory over to you. Wait, no. I'll hand the armory over to you. He picked up the cushion he had placed on his knees and rushed out the guard room like a typhoon, leaving Klein the only person there dazed. Also, second to Fry? What the hell? The Blackthorn Security Company accepted an extra mission in the morning. The task involved escorting a rich merchant to the harbor for a deal. Eonan and Kenley completed it easily, earning themselves some extra pay, much of the envy of Klein. Elvie in the corner like, I want some. He went about his day learning about mysticism, practicing his shooting, and getting tortured by instructor Gawain, who seemed to have been agitated by something. Klein gasped for air. He only regained his ability to take shower and change after quite some time. He continued toiling after leaving Gawain's house. He spent 2 solii on a carriage and investigated the other 10 houses with red chimneys. Klein's expression became very grave when the last house with the red chimney left his field of vision. The house with the red chimney that I saw in the divination isn't the list of houses with a recent change in tenants. If that's the case, this has just become troublesome. I wonder how much time I will need to investigate about 1600 houses. Ugh, I can't ask for any help to do something like this. After all, I only would have the sense of familiarity from my spirituality when I see the target. Don't be discouraged, don't give up. I'll continue the investigation whenever I have free time. I'll try to complete it within 3 months. No, 2 months. Who knows? Target might be found in tomorrow's investigation. And I'll organize the material when I get back and plan a route according to the distance of the sectors. Klein motivated himself, banishing his feelings of depression. Now that he had made a decision, he planned to instruct the driver to turn toward Daffodil Street. However, he suddenly realized that he was somewhere close to where Asik has stayed. Before Asik went for his holiday, he did write to tell me that he would be back sometime this week, but he didn't specify the exact date. Since it's on the way, I left a note for him. Also, I rented this carriage for an hour with 2 solii. At the time, the time's almost up anyway. I just stop at Mr. Asik's house, then take a public carriage back. Klein quickly made the decision. 4 minutes later, he aligned the carriage and arrived outside Mr. Asik's house. Fry is so kind, yeah. I really like Fry. The houses were obviously a higher quality than those at Daffodil Street, but as good as those in Howe Street. There was a patch of grass in front of the house and a small garden in the back. Ding, 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 ding. Klein pulled on the rope outside the door and sounded the bell within the house. A few months later, they heard footsteps. That's not Asik, right? Asik is still away. From inside before the door swung open. Oh, he's here. Asik's mild facial features and bronze skin appeared before Klein. Since he was at home, he was only dressed in a simple white shirt, a brown vest, and magic pants. Daddy Asik, by the way. Are we butchering Fry's name? Are we? Fry. Oh, Fria. No, Fry. Not Fria. Dadzik. You really like Daddy Asik. Asik smiled. Yeah. Klein, I was just about to write you. Klein, I was just about to write you. Asik greeted enthusiastically. I just arrived home last night. Klein stared at small mole near Asik's right here. Mr. Asik, I found a clue to your past. Really? Asik instantly became excited. The sadness he had in his eyes stalled. Aww, so sweet. Let's talk inside. Klein looked around. Asik quickly nodded. He moved to the side and allowed Klein entry. He locked the door and guided Klein to the living room on the first floor. They sat on the soft sofa. What clues did you find? He asked impatiently. Having not expected to meet Mr. Asik today, Klein organized his words. I received a mission recently and I had to deal with a wraith in Lamut town. Lamut? Asik repeated the term softly, his eyebrows creasing. Isn't Lamut like a thing from Jewish or whatever? Lamut meaning. It is. Meaning educated, learned, or experienced in Hebrew. Well. Lamut, Asik repeated the term softly, his eyebrows creasing. Klein observed his expression and slowed down his tone. In the process of dealing the wraith, he discovered something and thus conducted an investigation within the town. A resident of the town was in possession of portrait of the first Baron Lamud, which he tried to sell me. I asked to view the portrait out of curiosity and discovered that the person drawn had facial features resembled yours. Other than the hair, he even had the same mole near the ear, similar position, similar size. Under my interrogation, the man told me the portrait was about 40 years old, but the person in the portrait definitely came from an abandoned castle. It was a replica of the ancient portrait excavated from the castle. You should know that people like us with unique abilities can more or less tell if somebody is lying. This told me the man wasn't lying. Asik leaned toward as he listened to Klein. He crossed his arms and remained silent for a while. 5 minutes later, he exhaled. Your description didn't make me recall anything. Perhaps I will visit the abandoned castle myself. Can you take me there? That will be my honor, Klein replied. But I have to head home first. Don't want my siblings to worry. No problem, Asik stood up. Next chapter then. Ooh, Lucy, thank you so much. I love coffee. I can't drink coffee anymore though. Thank you so much for the subscription, Lucy, by the way. Thank you so fucking much. I love coffee so much. I can't really drink it anymore because of stimulants. Asik discovery. Okay, so... Don Smith was informed about the acting method not in detail, but slightly. We are gonna go with Asik in this episode, which is so cool. Also, Klein is looking to find the red chimney house in 2 months. My goat Asik. Asik is so cool. By the way, are there any other streamers who read a lot of mysteries? I was gone for a month, by the way. I guess I can talk a little bit why I was gone for so long. A month ago, I had tooth pain. Then I had the flu. Then my wisdom tooth was removed. Then I got diagnosed for autism and ADHD. And then I got my wisdom tooth stitches removed. So it was a really unproductive month and a half, that's why. Someone is trying to stop me. Also, my background is breaking. I have to fix that later. 150. A lot of things happen, yeah. Triple trouble, double trouble. Anyway. Asic discovery. Oh wait, this is a little bit off center here. There we go. I think it's perfect now. Oh, I heard Easy finished Lord of Mysteries, right? Is Easy reading Circle of Inevitability? Or also, I think who else finished? I forgot that guy's name. I'm so sorry. Anime expert? No, I forgot his name. Anime Wiz. Easy finished. Anime expert. Anime Wiz. He also finished, right? Someone cursed me. Anyway, I love Asic, so let's go. Let's read about Asic more. Also, I think in the novel it's more in detail, which is really cool. Also, I wonder if Asic is ever gonna be... I mean, I'm 90% sure Asic is gonna be part of the Tarot Club because of the trailer we had. That's cool. Maybe we can also start Circle of Inability in 2027 if there's no more setbacks. To Daffodil Street, Klein noted that Asic and Priestley walked to the door of his house, fished out his keys and opened the door. Melissa was already home, so she heard the click of the door lock and quickly came out to the kitchen and into the living room. Oh, that's so sweet, like sister welcoming her older brother home. Upon seeing Klein, she said with eyes beaming with joy, "I bought groceries, there's chicken, potatoes, onion, fish, turnips and peas. Even bought a small jar of honey. Sis, are you also getting used to the occasional luxury?" Klein chuckled. "You'll have to prepare dinner tonight. Earl me out for I'll be out of town. I might not return until dawn. Yeah, I'm doing a favor for Mr. Asic, a teacher from the Klein University Department of History." As he spoke, he turned sideways and pointed at the carriage that was waiting outside. Melissa's lips opened and closed twice before she pursued and said, "All right." Klein paid his sister farewell and left. He got into the rented carriage that Asic had hired and traveled 2 hours and 40 minutes to Lamut town. I wonder, Lamut means educated in Hebrew, right? And wasn't the parent's name Lamut? Which is Asic in the past. It was almost 9 at that point. The sky was dark and they could only rely on the crimson moonlight and the twinkling starlight that penetrated the clouds to illuminate the areas without street lamps. Oh, that seems like very cozy. After he instructed the driver to wait in town, Klein led Asic towards the ancient abandoned castle. As they walked, he realized that Asic was walking faster. Asic is looking forward to it really much. I wonder if, Asic is gonna unlock his memories bit by bit here. The point of him having to break into a small jog to keep up. In the end, it was Asic who led the way. Klein wanted to say something initially, but cleverly swallowed his words when he saw Asic's solemn expression and tightly pursed lips. With such speed, they quickly arrived at the ancient castle. The castle at which almost a wreckage extended itself in all 4 directions, while its spire looked desolate, wild, eerie, and dark. Asic looked at the ancient castle and slowed down his footsteps. Here we go. He stopped there in his gaze profound but lost, as he thought he was hovering between dreams and reality. Suddenly, he groaned in pain, lifting his hand to pinch his forehead while his muscles looked distorted in agony. He unlocked like a memory and it's painful. I wonder what he saw. Mr. Asic, are you okay? Klein asked carefully as he activated his spirit vision. When they were on board, they hired carriage, making their way from Daffodil Street to Lamut town. They had done a quick divination by flipping coin to see if there would be any danger on their trip, but he believed that divination wasn't all-powerful and he kept his guard up to prevent any misinterpretation on his part. Plus, Asic was quite mysterious. No one knew about his past and it was uncertain how he would respond if he were to be stimulated by an encounter with his past. Caution and worry had accomplished Klein throughout the trip. Asic didn't reply immediately, but took another 2 steps forward with a pained expression. He relaxed the hand that was holding his forehead. He then pointed forward the dreamy dawn. I have seen this ancient castle before in my dream. Back then, it was still complete with robust outer wall and high spire. I remember that there was a stable here, a water well there, and barracks there. Over there was a garden that was used to plant potatoes and sweet potatoes. I remember there was a training field. My child, he was a boy. Aww. Then no eggers. He was only about 7 or 8 years old, but he enjoyed running around while dragging a sports sword that was taller than him. He said that he wanted to become a knight when he grows up. My wife always complained about being too gloomy in the castle. She liked the sunlight, like the warmth. I feel like Ozzy's voice here is shaky, right? Klein looked at the color of his energy field, and what the man said made his scalp tingle. He was also slightly touched, as he thought he was experiencing a paranormal story himself. The ancient castle is really related to Mr. Ozick. Could he really be the first generation Baron Lamud? A transcendental creature that has lived for 1400 years? Is he a human or an evil spirit? No way. There are no such things as evil spirits running around under broad daylight and getting involved with the Nighthawks. Klein couldn't help with his thoughts and allowed them to clash against each other to ignite more ideas. Just then, Ozick stopped muttering and took a huge strides through the main gate. He walked all the way into the castle without Klein's guidance. He found a hidden gear with obvious familiarity and opened a secret door to enter the basement. Gripping his cane tightly, Klein followed behind Ozick. They walked down along the stairs and returned to the place where there was a coffin. Unlike the previous time, the coffin was closed and the warm and pure feeling was gone. The coffin is closed. It must have been Fry. Wait, did Lanavus go in during this time? No, wait. The skull was gone before that, right? His work ethic as a corpse collector. Klein nodded thoughtfully and watched the conflicted Ozick walk in front of the coffin with his spirit vision. Ozick extended his hands to push the coffin lid until there was a gap. He gazed at the skeleton without a skull a long time, suddenly wailed in pain and sorrow. Oh! Ozick lurked backwards with heavy footsteps. He staggered and fell against the wall before Klein managed to respond. He realized that's his son. He covered his face with hands and sat there dispirited. The surroundings suddenly became even darker. Klein quickened his pace and extended his hands, but he retracted them again, not daring to disturb the man. Just then his spiritual perception told him that the Grand Mr. Ozick was very scary. So scary that the basement grew gloomy and terrifying. Jesus! Klein slowly moved closer to the stairs. He trusted Mr. Ozick's character, but he was afraid that the man would lose control. Such an uneasy situation. He waited for a few more minutes, then he finally saw Mr. Ozick lower his hands and stand up slowly. Mr. Ozick seemed to have changed. This is what my spiritual perception tell me, but my spirit vision, his aura colors don't have any obvious changes. His emotions are in low spirits, depressed and pained as before. Klein made a quick judgment and felt that Ozick had become gloomier and more imposing. I feel so fucking bad for Ozick, dude. What the hell? Gloomier and more imposing. I recalled not something, but it's very minor. Ozick spoke with emotionless tone. Temporary fix. Then he looked around and said, I sense the power that made your fate disharmonious. Huh? Klein was... Wait, what? That made your fate disharmonious? Klein was stunned, pleasantly surprised. He asked in reply, can you trace the source? The person behind the scene who stayed in the red chimney house created coincidences in secret and came to Lamud ancient castle to take away the black armored knight's head? Question mark. What is he trying to do? What is his true intention? Yeah, I mean, close enough. It was actually not Lanevus directly, but the 008. It was too long, but I like to try. There seemed to be a volcano that was close to erupting within Ozick's deep voice. How? Klein asked curiously, as Asik walked before the coffin and gazed upon the skeleton inside it. He took my child's skull. I want him through a blood connection. I want to find him through a blood connection. Your child? Mr. Asik, are you sure the black armored knight is your child? Oh my fucking god, it's so sad. So you really are an antique. Don't say antique. You really lost your memory after such a long time. This is the price you have to pay in order to obtain such longevity. Klein took a silent breath, feeling the odd sensation of interacting with a legendary creature. Calling Asik antique? Calling Asik a creature? What's next? Then Asik extended his right hand and suddenly cut his index finger with his thumbnail. Oh, thumbnail, okay. A drop of fresh blood accurately dripped onto the white skeleton. It quickly seeped into the skeleton and the entire skeleton suddenly turned blood red. Whoa, whoa, whoa! Klein suddenly heard the sound of a baby crying. I didn't know it was a baby's cry. I suddenly heard the sound of baby crying and felt that there was someone staring at him from behind. Oh my god. He drew his revolver and pointed behind him before turning around slowly. However, there was nothing in sight. Nothing existed behind him. Even the stairway that connected to the ground floor was gone. Sound of a baby crying drilled into Klein's ears. And then he looked toward the coffin again. He was shocked to see that there were many shapeless and distorted faces rising amidst billowing black fog. Then they manifested a strange door. I'm trying to vision this in my head, by the way. Sheesh. I didn't know it was a baby at first, so I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. But no, it was wah. Creak. The illusory door opened and palish white arms extended out one after another, but they vanished into the black fog before Asik. Throughout the crack, the door opened. Klein saw a white skull that was thrown underneath a brown tree. Oh, he's gonna see everything. That's so cool. Under the brown tree and to the powder and the result of the elements. Creak. Countless palish white arms were sliced off by the door. Suddenly a slum shut as they fell onto the ground. Then Klein heard a long sigh. Mr. Asik's heavy sigh that seemed to have a rich history behind it. Along with the sigh, the black fog dispersed and the sound of baby crying ceased. Everything returned to its original state except for the accentuated chill. Klein clenched his shattering teeth and looked into the coffin. He saw that the red skeleton had returned to its original crystal clear white. I'm sorry, I couldn't find him, Asik said in a deep voice, his back to Klein. So that's what he was trying to do, find the person who took the skull of his son. At the same time, he closed the coffin. It's not surprising that he couldn't find him. It would have been surprised if we could. Klein comforted him. Anyway, I've been disappointed many times regarding this matter he had it in his head. Asik took another glance at the door before him. He turned around slowly and said, I'll continue investigating, and I hope that I can have your assistance. No problem, this is exactly what I wanted to do. Klein held back his urge to tell Asik about the red chimney. Because it was useless to bring it up, he could only rely himself to confirm his target. So we saw like I don't know, I'm pretty sure like Asik is like sequence 2 or 3. I think it was confirmed 2 or 3, right? And so like one of his abilities, I guess, trying to find out who took the skull. What's he called again? Blood connection, right? Why are you arguing, guys? Stop arguing. Then no egg. Yeah. However, that solved one of major problems, which was how he should involve Nighthawks after he found the Red Chimney House. He didn't believe that he could take out such a mysterious and scary puppet master alone. Yeah, because he's like sequence 5, right? Now he could ask for Asik's help. What was his name? The guy who is 008? Ince? Right? Ince? It was sequence 4 at the end of the first season, so sequence 5 right now. Now he could ask for Mr. Asik's help. Asik widened his mouth but didn't say anything in the end. All I did was sigh and walk toward the stairway quietly. After leaving the basement and closing the secret door, the two of them walked along the road covered with weeds and brambles. Neither of them spoke as they walked back to the abandoned ancient castle. In the dark night, Asik suddenly said, "Until this matter is resolved, I will quit my job and leave Tingen to look for my lost past." "Mr. Asik, did you find out what happened to you?" Klein asked, having failed to hide his curiosity. Wow. That's cool. Shin is Shingetsu. I don't know who Alma is. Shin is Brazilian. I'm exposing everyone. I don't know. Sorry. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. I'm sorry. 151. Yeah, that was actually really emotional. I'm sure that we're gonna see more of Asik really soon, right? But I like what he said, like, I don't know, it was a few chapters ago, but I'm like a boat in the sea without direction. And just voice audiobook quality, yours is glazing me. Is the sound good? Okay, that's good. Anyway, 1 second, guys. We're gonna continue to 151. Hopefully we can finish volume 1 before the end of the year. What do you guys think? We're gonna stream again. We're gonna read more right now, of course, but I'm gonna stream again on Thursday. You don't think so? Fanber? Also, if you're enjoying the stream, please like. Please, please, please. Klein's request: the chirping of insects and the hooting of owls reverberated along the path back to the small town. Asik looked ahead and said after a few seconds of silence, "Even though I'm not entirely sure what happened to me, I do have a rough idea. Perhaps I'm someone who has lived for a very, very long time. Mr. Asik, you have to seriously consider if you're still fit the definition of someone," Klein thought to himself, but didn't dare to say it out loud. "This wilderness, this silence often makes one weak. I should have paid some sort of price in exchange for this long life. I lived since the end of the 4th epoch, like a wandering spirit across the continent." Asik's voice deepened, as if he was trying to suppress his emotions. "I don't remember the past. I've forgotten about the people and things that I've sworn to remember." Klein poked at the weeds in front of him and said it in thought. "Mr. Asik, I have a theory regarding your situation." "Theory?" Asik looked to the side. "I think that there's a cycle to your memory loss. Perhaps you die once every few decades, and the memories of the events before that vanishes. And after some time you wake up from the darkness of your slumber and begin a new phase of life. This way we can explain why you would have such varied dreams. Those are events that you came across over several lives," Klein described his theory. I think there's a cycle of the memory loss, yeah. Asik slowed down his pace as his darkness had grabbed onto his sleeve. He looked ahead with a turbid look before saying, after a while, "That is consistent with the memories that were jolted awake just now." "Memories that were jolted awake?" Klein had the idea as he said immediately. "Mr. Asik, you might not have to leave Tingen to search for your lost past. You'll regain your memories slowly." "Why?" Asik turned his head in surprise. Klein smiled and said, "Your memories aren't completely gone. The parts of your memory that jolted awake just proof of that." Exactly. Guys, stop arguing. Furthermore, do you remember the moment you woke up in Backland and discovered that you had forgotten about your past? Asik nodded. "That's a nightmare that bothers me till this day." Klein dabbed downwards with his black cane and explained in detail. "Before the day I didn't think that there was a problem with that, but your description just now, together with my own conjecture makes it feel a little weird. You had a document of ID and enough money when you woke up from your dream. It also appeared in a way that didn't startle anyone. All that it seems like it was arranged for you, allowing you to fit in society with little effort. Oh my god, the previous Asik before losing memories set it up for Asik to wake up. Not the previous Asik, but Asik before losing his memories gave ID, money, everything so he can wake up. My best friend is, I don't know. You're all my best friends. As he stopped walking, he looked at the specks of light coming from the town. With a little effort, then who made these arrangements? There is only one answer. The you from the past. The past you regained his memories and knew that you would have usher in new life. Thus he prepared everything for you, trying his best not to let it attract suspicion from anyone else. Asik stopped walking. He looked at the specks of light coming from the town. Once again slipped into silence. Perhaps the band that I've been searching for the past me all along, he sighed, admitting that Klein's deduction was very plausible. Thus, you don't need to do anything. All you have to do is patiently wait for your memories to come back to you, Klein concluded and consulted Mr. Asik. Asik subconsciously waved his cane before he turned still, like a sculpture carved out of marble. After a long time, he looked in the distance and answered, Perhaps I'll only fully regain my memory when this life is nearing its end. I don't want to wait that long. I want to have plenty of time to understand and free myself from this destiny. So I have to be more proactive in searching for my past, to trigger my memories a little at a time. I have to get my memories back before the time you hypothesized. Waiting would only make me repeat the cycle. Indeed, that's a choice worth looking forward to the most. Klein didn't advise against it. Instead, he asked, Mr. Asik, may I ask for your help in something trivial, other than finding the criminal that took the skull of your child and fate disharmonious? Asik nodded slightly. Asik, you're always a kind person, exactly. I was gonna name someone. What do you need me to do? Klein organized his words and said, I hope that you can head to the town between 2 and 5 hours away from Dingen by carriage next week or week after. I need to cause a paranormal incident, something that won't harm anyone. Oh, remember this is like episode 7. Judging from how you try to search for that criminal using your bloodline connection, I will think that you're fairly adept in the field of dead souls. No problem, Asik promised without any hesitation. He didn't ask Klein why he wanted him to do something like that. At the same time, he had tacitly confirmed Klein's conjecture about his powers. Thank you, it's very important to me. Also, you can only choose a follower of the Evernight Goddess when you are picking a target. Also, don't leave any clues behind, Klein instructed. Only through his method could the incident be relayed to the Dingen Nighthawks. Only then could they join the team on the mission and success using sealed artifact 30782. Only then could they extract the divine blood from the sealed artifact to create a flaming sun charms. That was the most powerful item he could obtain at the moment, under the assumption that the culprit living in the house with the red chimney hasn't left Dingen and that Klein wasn't going to continue investigating. He had to try his best to become more powerful. Yes, according to the information I obtained, stealing a little of its powers won't damage 30782. At the very most, the expiry of its purification powers will be slightly reduced. This is for the safety and stability of Dingen City. Klein inwardly tried to justify his actions. Klein has figured this out, by the way. Asik don't care about his motives, he nodded. I will tell you the name of the town and the estimate time beforehand so you can prepare yourself. Oh, Klein heaved a sigh of relief. He felt that his trip to Lamut Town was a wasted trip, even though it only managed to peel back the outmost layer of the mysteries surrounding Mr. Asik, and had much more to find out. He had at least managed to gain the friendship of Asik, a reliable ally in his search for the culprit behind the scenes. Good, very productive. At 11:30 that night, Klein returned to Daffodil Street, hungry and tired. I think that Mr. Asik didn't treat me to dinner. He won't have been in the mood to enjoy dinner anyway, Klein muttered as he opened the door. Come on, Klein, you just wanted free dinner. The house wasn't as dark as he had anticipated. An elegant gas lamp was slightly emitting its light warmly, illuminating the living room. Benson was sitting alone on the sofa with a book trapped under a bright coat. When he saw the door open, Benson was just to speak when he yawned. He had no choice but to cover his mouth. Klein crossed the door and smiled, quipping, "I went to Lamuttown with Mr. Osik. They are an abandoned castle with a long history over there." Benson was immediately enlightened as he laughed. Ooh, Klein can't usually talk about what he has done before. But this is very special to him, right? No. Fanberry is not the best rage baiter. The best rage baiter is Evenly Envoy. Evenly Enjoy? No, Evenly Envoy. Benson yawned before... Wait, what? Benson was immediately enlightened as he laughed. A moonless night, a castle abandoned for a millennia, a cold and creepy environment, coupled with a two-man archaeological team, is the perfect recipe for the opening of a paranormal novel. What happened today could be classified as paranormal. Klein suddenly recalled the strange door Mr. Ozzy conjured and the cries of baby. He said a lingering fear creeping onto him. It did feel a bit like that back there. Benson yawned again before shutting his book and said, "I need sleep. Ever since I began studying and reading classical literature, the quality of my sleep has become especially good." That's good. Klein laughed to himself, suddenly recalling something Miss Justice had mentioned. He said, lowering his voice, "Benson, you know that my company was connections with Awa County Police. I recently heard news that Backland that the King Prime Minister, other ministers and members of parliament are all sick of an inefficient government. They want to push for reform and select talents to take on positions in the government based on open examination, just like entrance examinations of universities." Here we go. Klein giving Benson the biggest assist of all time, by the way. Yes, as long as you pass the examination, you could become a civil servant in one of the branches of the government. My guess is that the contents of the examination will be modeled after the entrance exams of the universities, literature, the classics, math and logic, as well as a basic understanding of the law. Klein used this opportunity to include his opinion. He continued, "Benson, this must be kept confidential and don't put too much hope on this. No one knows if it will be passed of the House of Lords and House of Commons or not. I'll keep in mind, I understand that all I need to do is study hard." Benson smiled and said, "I'll study hard whether change happens or not, or I'll try my best to free myself from my current circumstance and find a better job, learning that the greatest difference between a human and a curly-haired baboon." Let's go, Benson, the goat. "No, research suggests that baboons have decent IQ levels." Actually, baboons have a decent IQ level. Actually, meh. And a certain level of learning abilities. Klein lampooned silently and looked on as Benson headed to the second floor. After that, he smiled and rubbed his stomach as he walked toward the kitchen. He found the leftovers and the chicken Benson and Melissa left him specially. Klein relaxed as he started preparing his late dinner. It was deep into the night now, and most people had already gone to bed. He was only one still awake. Breathing in the cool air and mixed aromas and making slight movements. Everything was peaceful and serene. After he was satiated, he washed the dish and took a bath. Finally, Klein returned to his room and locked the door. He yawned but kept himself awake. He took out the silver dagger used for rituals and sealed the room with a wall of spirituality. Not to divine of the grey fog, whether summoning. The fool doesn't belong to this era. Was dangerous or not. Let's go. What's up, Luke? How are you doing? Let's see Fanber's rage bait. I'm not watching a short. Isn't this guy like the biggest reactor? He's watching like YouTube videos or something?
500 cigarettes.
Is this how you feel right now, my guy? You're not that guy, pal. You will never be like Heavenly Envoy. You're not that guy, pal. You're not that guy. I love Dadzik. Dadzik is life-based Dadzik. I love Ozik. Cat managed to drench herself in fish oil. Okay, let's see. I don't know why I said what. I don't know why I want to say Nicholas. Klein went and divined whether the fool doesn't belong to this era was dangerous or not. So let's see what happens. You can't clip. Yes, you can. What do you mean, Ga? A nice attempt, 152. Nice attempt. The grey fog filled the air in this eternally unchanging manner as the illusory crimson stars hung around him at varying distances. Klein sat inside the lofty palace that looked like the home of a giant as he looked at the familiar sight before him. After a few seconds, he looked away and made a yellowish-brown goatskin appear before him. Then he lifted a pen to write his amended incantation for the summoning ritual. Light a candle to represent myself, use a spiritual wall to create an all environment, drip a drop of full moon essence oil in the flame, chamomile pure dew, slumber flower powder, and other ingredients. Note, there is no need to be too particular in this step because it was summoning oneself. Is that the editor's note, by the way? Recite the incantation below. I, in ancient Hermes, Jotun, Dragonese, a railfish. It must be a deep shout-out. I summon my name, Hermes. The fool doesn't belong to this era. The mysterious ruler above the grey fog. The king of yellow and black who wields good luck. After scrutinizing in 3 times, Klein wrote a divination statement at the bottom. There will be danger if the ritual above is carried out outside this world. Phew, he let out a breath, put down the pen, looked at the silver chain in his sleeve and held it with his left hand. Let's see if it's counterclockwise or clockwise. The topaz pendant hung above the goatskin steadily, only a slight distance above the divination statement. He then reined his thoughts and entered a cogitation state. Reined? Alma, you're the biggest Aussie laser. Rained. Oh. Rained. Am I... Do I have like... Yeah, yes I have. One second, chaps. In his thoughts and entered the cogitation state. There will be danger in the ritual above the is carried out outside the world. There will be danger if the ritual above is carried out outside of this world. After reciting the statement 7 times, Klein opened his eyes, were almost all black, and looked at the topaz pendant. It was spinning counter. No. So it's no danger. That meant negative outcome. There will be no danger. Yippee! Give it a try then. Klein made the items before him disappear. He then extended spirituality to wrap around himself and simulated the sensation of falling. When he returned to his bedroom, due to the fact that he had sealed the entire room with a spiritual wall, Klein immediately cleared his desk and put on a mint-scented candle right in the middle. He pressed slightly on the candle wick, rubbing it with spirituality to cause friction and ignite the candle. Under the flickering dim light, Klein dripped the corresponding essential oils, extracts and herb powder onto the flame. A soothing fragrance suddenly filled the air, and the room alternated between the brightness and darkness. Taking 2 steps back, Klein looked at the candle that represented himself and shouted in Jotun, I. Then he switched to Hermes, I summon in my name. The fool doesn't belong to this era, the mysterious ruler above the grey fog, the king of yellow and black wields good luck. Just as he finished speaking, he sensed a wavering candlelight suddenly dance vigorously and produce a vortex with a surrounding fragrance. It absorbed his spirituality at an insane rate. Slumber, flower, a herb that belongs to the red moon. Please bestow your powers to my incantation. Klein endured discomfort brought about from having his spirituality drained as he finished reciting the incantation. Then he saw the candlelight stop wavering. It was tainted with grey luster, which extended to about the size of a palm. It didn't summon anything. Alright, perhaps I need to respond to it above the grey fog. It really is quite troublesome to summon myself. Klein muttered, pinching his aching forehead. I think so, yeah. It is. He calmed himself down, then he took 4 steps counterclockwise before arriving at the grey fog. Again, he saw that there was a rippling light over the seat of honor at the ancient table. Oh, because you're being summoned. It stemmed from the strange symbol at the back of corresponding chair, the strange symbol that was made up of a pupilless eye. Ooh, it's the same symbol, by the way, on the secret order tattoos. That represented symbol of concealment and contorted lines that represented change. All Klein did was extend his hand to reach for it when immediately heard, I summon in my name the fool that doesn't belong to Sarah, the mysterious ruler above the grey fog, the king of yellow and black who wields good luck. They saw surging spirituality combined with a rippling light that formed into an illusory yet a shapeless door. The door shook as though it wanted to be opened. Klein immediately felt inspired and strongly willed for it to be pushed open. Almost instantly, the boundless fog and lofty palace was drawn forward. There were a few barely noticeable ripples. The ripples surged towards the illusory yet shapeless door, but no matter how much Klein pushed it, the door wouldn't be pushed open. Every moment resulted in dead silence. The door of summoning was yet to take shape. Klein reined in his will and creased his eyebrows when he analyzed the reason why he had failed. He had casually named the door of summoning. Sheesh, I'm lacking spirituality, so I can't form a complete door of summoning. When I advance to sequence 8 clown and pass through the initial danger stage, I can give it another try. Maybe it won't be a problem by then. Klein nodded slightly and God, I can't speak. And roughly understood what happened. This experiment came coincidence boost. He felt heartened. We didn't say this in the donghua, by the way. He felt heartened as this was the first time he received some sort of response from the mysterious space of the grey fog, other than the incident whether he divined about the eternal blazing sun. There will come a day when I understand all the secrets here. I still think as a line of transmigrators before Roselle as well, and the black fog is made by the person who transmigrated first, or the person who made the first transmigration happen. Maybe the Lord of Mysteries made the grey fog. Ooh, never thought about that. There will come a day when I'll understand all the secrets here, Klein excitedly declared in his heart. He then made a rapid descent into the boundless fog after he wrapped himself up with spirituality. Guys, Lord of Mysteries are the friends we made along the way. Klein quickly blew out the candle. Klein quickly blew out the candle after he returned to his bedroom. He ended the ritual and cleaned up his study desk before he removed the spiritual wall. Isn't it strange you can like summon yourself, or you can like pray to yourself? Isn't that kinda sussy, you know? Like, what if all the transmigrators, like Roselle, we know of two right now, Roselle and Klein, maybe they somehow share the same past? Wait, music, bro. I can't focus without the music. Where's the loop option? Here we go. Is summoning his spirit body? Or it's like, is it like summoning your like nascent soul? No, that's different. This is not a cultivation novel. He prays for power of fog. True. donghua was very briefly shown just before he went to the demoness house. Yes, it is cultivation. I just like to rage bait. Okay. Klein quickly blew out the candle after he returned to his bedroom. He ended the ritual and cleaned up his study desk before he removed the spiritual wall. A gust of wind, whoosh, suddenly blew as he yawned. He collapsed into the bed, covered himself with a blanket, and quickly fell asleep. In the hazy dream that followed, Klein woke up abruptly and realized that he was sitting in the living room of his home and he was holding a thing and sitting on his paper. Bro slept walk or what? Don't tell me Captain is here again. He was stunned at the first as he looked outside the oriel window, finding a humor it was. Oh, exasperation. Okay, so Dunny Smith is trolling or haunting him. The creak the door opened. Dunn walked in slowly, wearing his black trench coat that went beyond his knees and had a cane and pipe. He was still wearing his black top hat, and underneath it were his profound grey eyes. Dunn came to the living room and sat on the single-seat sofa. He leisurely crossed his right leg over his left. What is he doing? He put aside his cane, took off his hat and leaned backwards. He sat there quietly and looked at Klein as though he was thinking. Bro is cooking up some mischief, guys. Nightmare. Captain, what are you trying to do today? Klein was dumbfounded. In order to not expose that he knew it was a dream, he pretended not to be affected by it and continued to read the newspaper. That's hilarious. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, he lifted his head to look at Dunn, who sat opposite of him. He found that the captain was still sitting there quietly and was looking at him in deep thought. He was just sitting there. Captain, you are making me very uncomfortable. Klein won't sit in peace. He folded the newspaper and put it aside. He nodded and smiled at Dunn. Then he went to the kitchen to get a piece of cloth and started wiping a dining table and coffee table. Captain, look, my dream is so simple, so ordinary, so boring. There's nothing worth observing. Hurry up and leave. Why don't you pretend to be a ghost and I'll pretend to be frightened? Then you role player. Then you can complete your achievement as Nightmare. He prayed in silence and lifted his head. But all he saw was Dunn's deep grey eyes that were still in deep thought. On such a quiet and constant gaze, Klein wiped all the furniture and cleaned his room. He was so exhausted in his dream. What wore him out most was Dunn Smith, who was watching him quietly in deep thought. Klein had no idea how much time had passed while he made himself busy until he finally saw his captain uncross his legs and stand up. Then he took his cane, put his hat on and walked through the door. He just leaves, says nothing, by the way. Came in, stared at Klein, leave, refuses to elaborate. Klein held his breath and watched Dunn leave his house. He couldn't help but lift his right hand to wave goodbye. Ugh. When everything returned to normal, Klein let out a breath of relief. It really was such a nightmare. He thought to himself, too preoccupied for tears. You guys are so funny. He just went to the door afar. I mean, he was scared. He nearly cried. Come on. Too preoccupied for tears. Yeah, it worked. Backland. Ooh! Philip's department store. Here we go. Philip was one of the top-end department stores in the Lion Kingdom. It only opened to nobles and wealthy people who were qualified to be members. Oh, I hate classism. There was always luxurious carriage parked outside with different emblems printed on them. Not only was it a safe place for shopping, it also became a popular social venue due to the strict restriction on members. Audrey brought her maidservant Annie and her golden retriever Susie under the ushering of an eagerly alternative attendant. She got off the carriage and walked through the entrance. Along the way she saw daughters of viscounts, countesses, maids with parents of high social status. She maintained her elegance and greeted them all gracefully. She communicated with different nobles on different topics. For instance, when she faced a particular countess, she would compliment the fittings of the countess' dress, and then she greeted in particular baroness. She will praise the outstanding performance of the baroness's husband in the House of Lords. Sheesh. Susie, let's go. The protagonist of this era. Audrey hadn't been good at that previously. She was too stubborn and too arrogant, but now she didn't even need to put in much effort to respond perfectly. In a spectator eyes, most of the emotions and thoughts of the female nobles were written on their faces. That's gonna be life on easy mode. Arriving at the second floor, Audrey turned to the shop and sold ready-made dresses. The attendant in the shop was a petite maiden. She wore a black and white dress and had shoulder-length blonde hair. She was the Arbiter Xiao Derecha! Works at the shop! I can't wait for Xiao to become a sheriff. She'll be the coolest sheriff in town, by the way. Audrey gave Susie a look without charging her facial expression. The dog understood what her owner meant immediately and ran to another counter. Maidservant Annie went after Susie to try to drag her back. Well done, Audrey complimented inwardly and walked next to Xiao, pretending to look at the variety of dresses. Why did you arrange to meet here for? Xiao inquired with a whisper while she loudly introduced the dressers. Her voice was tender, just like a child's. Where's the original attendant? Audrey asked in reply instead of answering her. Xiao looked around and said, I convinced her she was happy to rest for the morning. Audrey looked at the different style dressers when she took out a piece of neatly folded paper from her lamb leather handbag and secretly passed it to Xiao. Vice Admiral Hurricane Chilangos has snuck into Backland. This is the portrait. I hope you can find him from me. Oh, and don't alert him. Chilangos mentioned. That's cool. Shio received the piece of paper and unfolded it to take a quick glance. She saw that it was a lifelike portrait of a man in his 30s with a unique broad chin. I was once constantly praised by my art teacher. Audrey stole at glance at Shio and lifted her head. Oh my god, she's proud of the painting. She added, the kingdom offers a reward of 10,000 pounds for Chilangos. If he were to be arrested, even the person who would only provided clues will definitely be awarded with a few £100. Just as she finished her sentence, she saw Shio's eyes beam with joy as she had expected. Also, just remember that you can put, we figured out a few streams ago, which was like last month or something, that you can put beyond their powers in items. And you know how all the artifacts, like the clown one from Anticonos, I forgot his name, Q something? It's probably a seer ability, right? Yeah, it is. Anyway, final act of laying the foundation. Good luck on your exams, Merlin. Can we please go back to Backland? I want to see Chilango's storyline so bad. Anyway, Don Smith just... How do you think Don Smith felt doing that, by the way? How do you think, like, going in, just staring at Klein? What a creeper there, dude. I wish I could do that to Fanber. Final act of laying the foundation. I'll be right back, by the way. I'm gonna get some more water and pee. It's peeing time. Let's see what John Mystery is gonna be up to next. Give me a second though. Hope you guys had all a good pee break, by the way. Oh, if you don't know, and if you're so cool, you'll be really cool for this, by the way. I started watching Chainsaw Man, which won the poll, by the way. So, what do you mean 20 views in 5 hours? So if you like Chainsaw Man, please go watch my reactions. First episode is over here. There it is. So yeah. What do you mean no? Creeping Hunger is so fucking cool, by the way. It's one of the names of all time. Names of all time. Where did that even come from? Thank you, Fanbear. You're so nice. Such a cutie patootie you are. Final act of laying the foundation. A unique white jaw. His hair is a bun like an ancient knight's eyes that look at you with the intent of an icy smile. Shio was half slumped on the sofa as she scrutinized the portrait that Audrey had handed to her. In her eyes, the man might as well have been a living, walking pile of money. After committing the looks of the great pirate Chilangos to her memory, she proceeded to read the description written at the bottom of the page. Brown hair, dark green eyes. The portrait can only be used as general reference as the target possesses the ability to transform into another person. It is unknown how long he can maintain the transformation. The portrait can only be used as a reference. Target possession the ability to transform into another person. Only as a reference, transform into another person. Then why did I spend so much time memorizing his facial features? Chio wore a dazed look as if it was the first time she had witnessed the evil intentions of the world had for her. How? Yeah, that's crazy. I low key, one of the superpowers one will have is transform into another person. Is that a creepy superpower, by the way? Huh, I never thought about that. Like the dual ones I wanna have is yeah, I don't think that's creepy, right? Take this evidence is useless, but maybe he's gonna see him untransformed because he can't do it all the time. She looked up and saw Force. She looked up and saw Force, the goat, slumped languidly in a sofa opposite of her. She seemed to be muttering to herself. There's no way to look for this person. We don't know what he looks like. All we know is that he's not from Backland. There are far too many foreigners who come to Backland every day. Force attempted to sit up, but failed even after 3 tries. I'm only an apprentice, not an arbiter, she pouted as she placed her hand on the armrest of the sofa, successfully pulling herself up into shifting position. What does it mean? I'm only an apprentice. Also, Force attempted to sit up but failed is so funny, so relatable. Anyway, does she call herself weak? Does that lady think we are prophets? Force jested. She was about to answer when she realized that there were still footnotes she hadn't gone through yet. I know it's her pathway. I'm confused. Time to blow some dust off the notes, I guess. Where the frick are my notes? Shut up about my pictures, man. You were not supposed to see that. Apprentice. Yeah, Apprentice is Force's pathway, and Arbiter is Shio's pathway. But she's saying that Arbiter is weaker than... sorry, other way around. That the Apprentice pathway is weaker than Arbiter, like I'm a mere apprentice. I'm only an apprentice and an Arbiter, yeah. Because Arbiter can be detective, you know? Like, sheriff. Apprentice's powers are so boring. Open a door. You can, like, teleport. I don't actually know how much the door can do, but yeah. Does that lady think that we are prophets? Force chested. Shio was about to answer when she realized that there were still footnotes she hadn't gone through yet. She recited them out softly. The suggested ways of searching are as follows. Shinalkos has an evil object with him. He needs to devour the flesh, blood, and soul of a living person every other day. You can consider it looking for missing vagrants. Search for Chilangos information truly and build a profile of his unique hobbies and behaviors. A person's facial feature might change, but as long as he hasn't received any special training, he will often act like himself, such as the things he prefers to eat, his gait, actions he's used to performing, and many other details. Force nodded as she listened. I love Force. Force nodded as she listened. Miss Audrey isn't the innocent, naive teen the rumors about her suggested. She was a meticulous heart in the calm sense of observation. Is that so? Chio asked doubtful. She didn't accept an answer as she changed the topic by suggesting. I'll be in charge of gathering the information. Can you consolidate the pile of gold bounds? No, that Admiral's hobbies and unique traits. Oh, funny. Force opened her eyes wide open and shook the steel box containing her cigarettes. How can you bear to this? How can you bear to make a dainty, sensitive author do consolation, analysis, and deduction? Shio shot her good friend a glance as she exuded an air of authority without realizing it. There's an interesting paragraph on deduction in your Stormwind Mountain Villa. Force pulled her shoulders back and lowered her head. She looked at the coffee table and she said, do you know how much of my hair I pulled out? How much sleep I lost just for that paragraph? She quickly lifted her head and looked at Shio, then lowered her head once again and grumbled. Life is short. There are too many things that we need to do. Why must we waste our time on such uninteresting menial tasks? Damn, Force is getting real. Damn. Force is going bald. Oh, because she's pulling all her hair out. That's very reasonable. She only nodded in agreement. She fought hard to keep her authority as an arbiter. Yeah, because arbiters have a lot of authority. They are, like, I feel like there's gonna be a sequence in arbiter pathway called Judge, or like the Grand Judge, or something like that, right? Just theory. It's a guess. Theory has to have a hypothesis, as in more info, but me splurting out guesses are not theories, because check notes. Did I mix a fact with as a theory? Why the fuck did I close my notes? Ah! That's what a month does to... A month break does to a person, by the way. There's no judge in my notes. There's no judge in my notes. Judge. What if you just confirmed an accident that judge does exist? Anyway. Then do you have any other ways to solve this problem? She suppressed her voice, making her childlike voice sound deeper. That's so funny. Shio is so cute, man. She made her voice sound deeper. Force thought for nearly 20 seconds and before looking up suddenly. We can hire a professional. After you finish collecting information on Vice Admiral Hurricane, we shall erase the name and hand it over to excellent detective. then ask him to do consolidation and deduction. All we have to do is pay a fee. Here. Why didn't I think of that? Joe mind went blank. Force and Joe looked at each other without saying anything. When the atmosphere became awkward, she cleared her throat. Will you, according to your suggestion? After saying that, she quickly added, you'll pay the fee. Aw, that's cute, kinda. Would you consider Joe like a lolly? I know it's a stupid question, but... I know, Lucy's gonna say, ugh. I don't mean it in that sense, I meant like the build. Like, I meant as a description. You know, you're trying to get what I'm getting at? I don't mean it as a... Okay. It's just short? Okay. By the way, if you like lollies, you're disgusting. She's taller than Lolly. Okay. We're going back to Divination Club. No, I wanna spend time with Susie and Audrey. I wanna spend time with Susie and Audrey. House Street Divination Club. Good afternoon, Mr. Good afternoon, Mr. Moretti. The pretty receptionist. Angelica looked at Klein in surprise. You really come on Fridays? Klein keeps referring to Angelica as really pretty, by the way. Interesting what a month break does to you. What did I say wrong? Exhausted from searching the house with the red chimney, Klein smiled and said, fate never repeats itself indefinitely. It always brings up some surprises. Smart. He was in an area and time had expired on the carriage rented, thus he came for a cup of black tea and rest. Furthermore, this will serve as a final layer of foundations with the new experience Divination Club. He will logically mention the application to Don Smith. Your words are always so philosophical, Angelica prized. Me too. Klein thought for a moment before saying with deliberation, I might not come to Divination Club too often in the future, so you need not recommend me to others anymore. Yeah, I mean, he fully digested the seer potion, so fair enough. Why? Angelica shocked and puzzlement. You already made a name for yourself in the club. Most people know your divinations are very accurate and miraculous. In fact, we're considering getting you to come in Sundays as a lecturer. I mean, you can come in dressed as a clown when you advance. If I was paid £1 for every divination I performed, then I will keep doing this regardless of how tired I was. Besides, I still have to investigate the houses with red chimneys and find the culprit as soon as possible. Klein smiled warmly. Madam, do not convince me to stay. This is the arrangement of fate. I won't stop coming Divination Club entirely. It's just that my visits will become less frequent. I will still pay the membership fees on time. I can get reimbursed for it anyway. I will come down occasionally to monitor the place, Klein added in his heart. How regretful. I hope that you will be able to club when I happen to be lost, Angelica sighed. She realized that it wasn't a surprise as she imagined after the initial shock had passed. Perhaps such a miraculous seer that still respects fate wasn't someone who could be held back by a club in Tingen. Angelica smiled as if thinking about something. Siba, black tea? Yes, Klein returned a smile. He then about 20 minutes in the club, spending the time resting, finishing his black tea before leaving the club. He took a public carriage back to Daffodil Street. When he entered, he opened the mailbox out of habit and saw that there was a letter placed inside not too long ago. Klein opened the letter and noticed that it was from Mr. Ozick. I'll be heading to Morristown on Sunday and return on Wednesday. Most citizens in Morristown are believers of the goddess. He's heading there on Sunday, which means that according to the usual level of efficiency, the Nighthawks will only receive the information on Thursday or Wednesday. I can make it. I think that Mr. Ozick would remember my request. I hope that he remembers not to do it personally. I mean, Ozick is indebted to you a little bit, right? So of course. I saw all the mysteries I thought I was going to remember every sequence. Even though Cuttlefish shit on Chia for her height, she is 165. See, 165 is average. Him summoning a spirit and doing something scary would suffice. Klein nodded slightly. He released his spirituality and burned the letter with friction. He flicked his hand, turning the flames into ash and allowed them to fall slowly into the ground. Saturday afternoon, Klein was wearing his black trench coat and he had his cane in his hand as he walked down slowly into the Blackthorn Security Company. Nightwalker, don't be weird. After greeting Roseanne, he looked at the partition and noticed that the captain's office was open. He had deliberately spoke louder. Yesterday, I saw a girl who looked just like you at the Divination Club. Really? Roseanne asked, her interest piqued. I nodded without sincerity. Yes, in fact, I thought she was your sister. I'm sorry to have disappointed you. I have no sisters, not even cousins, Roseanne laughed. Do you remember her name? No, why would I remember her name? Klein smiled. Looking at her was exactly like looking at you. So, does Klein want Roseanne to go to the Divination Club? Can I take that as a compliment? Roseanne was a chatty girl who never needed others to start the conversation. She asked on her own accord. I would love Roseanne as a friend. What do you guys think? Like, Roseanne as a friend, I know, you're never run out of things to talk about. Like, I would cost with her all day, right? Klein would assume that you are earning quite... Wait, what? Can I take that as a compliment? Roseanne was a chatty girl who never needed, yeah. She asked on her own accord. Klein, I would assume that you're acting quite a bit from the Divination Club. Earning, sorry, not acting. Jesus. As a true seer, your abilities are far beyond those who do take this as a hobby. You know how... This is Fanber right now writing that message, by the way. This is Fanber. I don't need no friends. Roseanne laughed. To you? Okay. As a true seer, your abilities are far beyond those who take this as a hobby. He will still be a good colleague if you didn't mention this, Klein coughed. A seer has to be respectful of fate. We cannot use divination to ask for abnormal privileges. Are you concluding your own maxim for a seer? Roseanne asked out of curiosity. Yes, Klein answered frankly. After a brief chat, Klein said goodbye to Roseanne. He took his hat and walked toward the partition. He looked at Ton Smith, who was drinking his coffee, kahwa, as he knocked on the open door. Please come in. Ton looked at Klein and adjusted his posture immediately. Klein had already probed the captain over the past few days. He confirmed that Ton Smith hadn't mentioned the acting method. As he was trying it out, it was clear that he was also cautious of the higher-ups of the church. Explain. Thus he closed the door and sat opposite Ton. He sat with a serious yet slightly excited expression. Captain, I believe that I have completely grasped the seer potion. I wish to submit a special application. Let's go. Oh, that's it? Okay, so we're gonna get into Clown. We're gonna see Sesamir next episode. I'm not a friend of everything. You guys are my friends, right? 1.5 centimeters is below average. 154 experience. Let's see what happens next. Roseanne is cute. I like Roseanne. I wanna see more of her. Thoughts? I'm 187. I'm humongous. I'm massive. Beats is not here. Oh, Oh, by the way, I turned 25 years old 2 weeks ago. I didn't tell anyone because I had the flu or something, or was it my tooth pain? I think I had flu on my birthday, so I'm 25 years old now. I'm literally an unk. 25 is not that old, by the way. It's just like 25% of your life is just gone. Something like that. I don't know, man. 17 tomorrow? You're just a baby. Thank you, username. I'm a quarter. If you put it like that, I'm old. When you're 30 years old, you're unk. Fanber, what do you want for a birthday gift? We're 19 soon. If you're over 18, you're an unk. Shut up. That's crazy. Delusional. Anyway. Experience. As he looked into Klein's eyes, Tan took a deep breath. Old farts, Akin. I wanna meet you guys in real life. I wanna go for a drink. When are you guys coming to Estonia? As he looked into Klein's eyes, Tan took a deep breath and leaned back, then he slowly exhaled as he spoke. Are you certain? There were minor changes in his facial expression. He seemed to be well prepared for the special application, but he hadn't expected to be so soon. Captain, would you look relieved? Klein didn't conceal his smile as he said, I'm certain, Captain, when you fully master a potion, you'll feel a very special and magical sensation. You'll have no doubt that you fully mastered the potion. Special, magic feeling. Tan muttered those words softly and his eyebrows slowly knitted together. You're all going to Estonia? Take a vacation, visit everyone? I don't know. I mean, I might do that. The captain advanced twice without fully digesting the potion. Of course, you didn't know about the acting method. It would be difficult to fully digest it. He must have used a prolonged period of time to break it down and was subconsciously acting to minimize the risks of losing control. Poor captain. Klein looked at Don Smith, but he didn't speak or say anything further so as to allow Don to think carefully. Wouldn't that make it easier to lose control? What's up, Alma? After almost a minute, Tan deep eyes reflected Klein's figure. Once again, he weighed his words before he said, maybe it will be better to option to wait another year. When the captain means is that waiting another year will make it less conspicuous. With the example with Madame Dali, said for me the higher-ups will pay too much attention to me. At most, I will only be put on a list for observation. Klein thought and answered frankly. At first, I want to wait until next year to send my special application. After all, there are too many things that I need to master. For instance, my combat arts is only at the beginner level. But Captain, don't you think that we've experienced too many coincidences in the last 2 months? We were chasing after the kidnappers when we were across the Antigonus notebook in the opposite room. The shipment of Seal Artifact 2049 was delayed, but the Ray Bieber didn't leave Dingen and tried to digest the power of the harbor. I went to attend a birthday banquet and triggered Hana's incident. I went to investigate at the library and turned into member of the Aurora Order. I don't know what these coincidences mean, but I feel insecure. That's why I want to enhance myself in the best possible way. If you don't finish Lord of the Mysteries, the whole fucking book? Are you actually mad? Imagine Klein waited for a year. I know, right? Slow things down. Oh, I will. That's gonna be a birthday gift, by the way. There was a Lord of Mystery event in Bangkok. Really? Klein Klein seized the opportunity to talk about the manipulator behind the scenes. It was something he had planned to include in his schedule without exposing his uniqueness. He would remind the Nighthawks to make them search for more clues from different angles. But he said earlier it would only lead the other Nighthawks to conclude that Klein had a discerning mind and was good at organizing his thoughts. The moment Klein said the word "but," Dunn's body leaned forward in the end and steeped his fingers in front of his mouth. Oh, Dunn is doing this! That's what Klein was doing. He fixed his gaze and remained quiet, seemingly thinking about what Klein had said. After a while, Dunn lifted his head and said in mellow and deep voice, very perceptive, perhaps there really is something lurking in the dark. Without waiting for Klein, I wonder, was the 008 description available for Dunn? I don't think so. It's a really high sequence item, right? After Dunn lifted his head and said in a mellow and deep voice, yep. Without waiting for Klein to speak, he instructed, you can submit the special application. Klein lifted the corner of his lips when he answered. He smiled. He got up with a smile and walked toward the door. As expected, he heard a familiar additional remark. Hold on, Dunn called out. He weighed his words and said, take note of your choice of words. Don't worry, Captain. I place far greater importance on the matter than you do, Klein nodded in agreement with a smile. At first he thought Dunn will propose that they avoid going through Holy Cathedral and instead at the monster sequence 8 in secret. Oh my god, imagine if they do that. Then they would go through the normal procedure after 3 years. However, after he thought it through, he realized that it was impossible, regardless of whether it was through a special application or a normal application. The person who was going to advance still had to be investigated by the Holy Cathedral. The only difference was that one method was relatively simple, another was more complicated. If he had become a sequence 8 in secret, then he could be put the entire thing and Nighthawks in trouble. I imagine there would be cinema, by the way. Since Klein was finished with the mysticism lessons, he didn't go to the basement in a hurry, but walked to the clerk's office, the next door, leaving the captain's office. Done is a burn? A bum? What the fuck? He found a man, a woman sitting in the office. The man was in his 30s, the woman was in his 20s. There were 2 newly added members. Who are they? They were surprised when Klein entered. Then they smiled and nodded in greeting. They were curious and in awe of the Beyonders that they worked with. Klein didn't chat with them. Civilians, right? Fuck, I can't hear the music. I'm a music-holic. Klein didn't want to chat with them out of... Klein didn't chat with them, but found an empty desk and began writing a draft for a special application. As he already had a draft in his head, it only took about 10 minutes to complete his initial work. After reading it a couple of times and amending parts of it, he sat before Ackerson Model 346 typewriter and started typing his draft onto the document. Why do things like machines sound so cool? Like Ackerson Model 1346. Super. Why so many numbers? Oh, year. Oh, it's a year, probably. No, wait, isn't it 1327 or am I tripping? Listening to the tapping of the keyboard, or is it 47? Listening to the tapping of the keyboard, the 2 new clerks exchanged looks and stood up simultaneously. They left the office and went to the reception hall to chat with Roseanne, allowing Klein to have some privacy. Yeah, Roseanne is gonna chat with them, alright? Very careful and fully aware of the need to maintain a secrecy, Klein stole a glance of their receding figures. I had receding flashbacks. You're in 1349? Okay, exactly. When I read receding, I had flashbacks. Receding figures as he complimented them. He focused on his work again and continued tapping on the typewriter. Just as though he was going to complete his special application, Leonard Mitchell, ooh, our favorite zesty poet, came out of the restroom. He looked around while he buttoned his shirt. There was unrestrained beauty in his messy hair. Ooh. Wait, Klein, you're saying that Leonard is beautiful? You? Do I feel some tension there? What's the report you're writing? Leonard looked around the clerk's office as he leaned against the door frame, with his right foot tiptoe to the balance himself and his hands tucked into his pockets. His green eyes examined Klein with interest. Klein typed the last word and the and the last punctuation mark. He then turned his head and smiled. Special application. Special application? Leonard asked, puzzled. Klein picked up the paper and skimmed through it quickly. He casually explained, a special application that wants to sequence 8. Leonard suddenly coughed vigorously, calmed down and asked, you already done digesting the potion? Digest, bro! You know quite a bit. Klein held his special application and walked before Leonard. He lifted his eyebrow and said, yes. So, like, yes? Also, what the fuck? I never seen Klein say bro before. Then he looked into his... Has he? Then he looked into his eye and nodded softly with a chuckle. I remember someone told me once that there were some people who are special. People who can do things others can't. Such as me. Such as you. And I was suddenly at a loss of words. He could only change his standing posture and take his hands out of his pockets to cross them in front of his chest. Leonard is shook. I think the old man is noisy. Oh, I wonder if Leonard is going to be part of the Tarot Club. I was thinking Tan Smith, but now before I said Tan Smith, I remember Tan died. So no, it can't be Tan Smith. Rest in peace. He opened his mouth and finally organized his words. He asked in a low voice, do you think that is too risky? As I already knew about digesting, he definitely understands that my advancement was no risk of losing control. Is he referring to attention from the higher-ups in the church? Klein explained while in thought. Leonard, do you remember the first task that we worked together on? We were merely tracking kidnappers, but realized that the room opposite had clues about the Antigonus and my notebook. We repeated what he mentioned to Dan once more. Leonard's expression grew heavy, and he nodded in agreement slightly. He muttered to himself and said, maybe I have to hurry up. As he finished, suddenly looked at Klein and flashed a smile and said, aren't you going to share your experience with us? The experience of quickly cast a potion and avoid the risk of losing control. Fucking Leonard is fishing for it. Leonard is fishing. He wants Klein to say acting method so bad because that old man that he's grooming probably told him about the acting method. Holy shit. Slimy guy, dude. Why are you trying to sabotage Leonard, Klein for? This guy sure gonna put on a facade. Klein smiled and answered, I'm more than willing to. He was planning to seize the opportunity today to remind his Nighthawks teammates on how to minimize the risk of losing control. Of course, to maintain his personal safety, he couldn't say as straightforwardly as he did to Tan. At most, he could describe the idea vaguely in a way that would alert anyone who was sent down by the higher-ups. I got what right away? By the way, sometimes I miss obvious things because I have autism and I don't get context clues. But that just makes me try extra hard, right? So you're glazing me in a little bit. Let's do it now. Let's do it now then. Leonard impatiently dragged Klein to the Nighthawks Jesus Christ, Leonard, calm down. Dragged Klein to the Nighthawks recreation room. At the very moment, other than Royale, who was taking her shift at Johnny's gate, Fry, Kenley, and Sika were there playing cards. Everyone! Leonard knocked the half-closed. What the fuck is Leonard doing, man? Knocked the half-closed door and spoke as if he was reciting a poem. Let me introduce this man next to me, Mr. Klein Moretti, who has fully crashed the potion in a month and a half. This guy is so dramatic. Ugh, Leonard. That's how Klein feels like, ugh. Klein suddenly felt awkward. What? Even Sikatron, the author who wasn't famous and barely sold any books. That's unnecessary. Cocked her head sideways as though she was testing her hearing ability. Leonard, don't joke around. You're always exaggerating things. Kenley covered his cards helplessly. Fry held his cards as he looked at Klein. He kept quiet for a while and said, are you sure that you already fully grasped the potion? Yes, Klein could feel his concern as he nodded confidently. There was an obvious indication. Wait, really? Klein shouted in delayed response and stood up. Leonard chuckled and pointed at the paper in Klein's hands and said, this is the special application that he's going to hand in. The special application that... Oh my fucking god, Leonard, what are you doing? The special application that wants to sequence 8. How did you do it? Sikatron had many questions, but she only voiced the one that concerned her the most after taking a deep breath. She was normally quiet and elegant, but now she had a burning passion in her eyes that couldn't be suppressed. Klein found a chair and sat down. He lowered his voice and answered, I found inspiration from the maxim of the Mystery Briars. Do as you wish, but do no harm. Leonard supplemented. Yes, according to confidential information following the maxim, gives the Mystery Briars a lower probability to losing control. Klein explained that he learned from old Neil after that Madame Daly's example gave a better understanding of the process. Spirit medium Dali, Kenley asked in reply, hoping to gain confirmation. Leonard is helping the team. Leonard is helping the team! I just talked about context clues, man. I was just talking about the context clues like 5 minutes ago. Man, that is so true. So fucking true. Yes, Madame Dali has an special application before. She only used 2 years to become a spirit medium from Corpse Collector. She once told Unc Neil that she wanted to be a real spirit medium. Klein explained in detail, with experience I gained in divination and corresponding feedback I received, I gradually concluded my seer principles. Then I followed it strictly and become a real seer. When I did so, I realized that the speed at which I grasped the potion became faster. So, being a sleepless, sequence 9 sleepless, that's one of the most easiest acting methods, right? But probably most unhealthy ones. You just sleep like 2 hours a day and you're basically acting on your potion. Midnight Poet, you do poets at midnight. Mystery Prior, you pry mysteries. His 7th grade syndrome is very strong. Oh, you don't believe in Leonard? As they listened to Klein's recount, Fry, Sika, and the rest fell into deep thought. Even Leonard pretended to be thinking. I'm going to hand my special application. Klein waved the paper in his hands. If you have any problems, do ask me privately. All right, Fry replied in a coldly with a nod. Klein left the recreation room and knocked out on the door of the captain's office again. He sat down opposite of Dunn, then he took a pen and ink pad. He signed and stamped his blue thumbprint. Captain, this is my special application. After that, he passed the paper to Dunn with both hands. Dunn looked through it carefully and put down the application. I'll submit the Holy Cathedral as soon as possible. You should be prepared to be examined perhaps next week or the following week. Alright, Klein took a deep breath, nodded seriously. He stood up, exited the captain's office and closed the door behind him. During the process he thought about the application that he had sent in. There was thought that popped up in his head. I wonder what kind of examination it will be. I'm glad you asked, because I wonder if we're gonna find out in the next chapter. Urgent meeting. Okay, maybe not yet. But I feel like Sesamir is coming really, really soon, right? I really like Sesamir. Long live Dadzik, yeah. What is this? I'll subscribe my Discord if you haven't, by the way. It's why you're not in the stream. I like Pete's. He's a good kid, you know. It's just Pete's is a good kid, but Pete's is misunderstood, I feel like. I love my viewers. I really do. I'm gonna continue in a second here, 1 second. On the Spectre, yeah. I really am. Ah! Okay, let's continue. Urgent meeting. After collecting himself, Klein went down to the basement and walked to Johnny's gate. He knocked on the door to the guard room. Inside Royale Radine. Oh, I like Royale, but I want to see more of Sika and Royale. Oh, okay. Inside Royal Radine had already packed her personal belongings. She immediately smoothed her hair and stood up when she saw the person taking over her shift. After greeting each other with a nod, Klein suddenly said, I had some success with grasping my potion, and I've shared my experience with Fry and the rest. You can ask them about it. Rial, who typically didn't have much of an expression, looked at Klein with a little shock. Her lips quivered a little as she said, alright. Madam, let's hope that you can still maintain your calm composure in a while. There are already much of dazed people sitting in the recreation room right now. Klein laughed and made his way behind the table, expertly taking out the tin can which Don Smith used to store his thermo coffee. After making himself a cup of aromatic coffee, Klein sat down and relaxed. He took out the lonely hallway. He looked out at the lonely hallway and allowed his thoughts to roam free. Let's hope that Mr. Ozik's mission is successful and that he doesn't have leave behind any clues. Well, even if there are clues, I can just pretend to not notice them. I wonder where the mutated sun sacred emblem is sealed behind Chinese gate, since it doesn't possess any living qualities, it only needs a little space. Come to think of it, I haven't been inside Chinese gate, I'm not sure what it looks like inside. To be able to keep a weird sealed artifacts of varying sizes safe and maintain surveillance must be quite special indeed. For example, the ashes of Saint Selena. Ooh, ashes mentioned again. Oh, this isn't real? Oh, okay, don't get rage with it. Don't get rage with it. Don't get rage with it. Yeah, well, is quiet. Maybe she's just nervous a little bit. Many thoughts streaked past Klein's head when he suddenly heard urgent footsteps. He focused and shot a look. Don't you think it's kind of weird making a high-level Beyonder into ashes? Many thoughts wrecked past Klein's head. He suddenly heard urgent footsteps. He focused and shot a look towards the door. He saw Unc Neil wearing his classic black robe, appear in the corridor with a black carpet in his hands. He made his way into the guard room and said nothing, but instead observed Klein thoroughly. Mr. Neil, did something happen? Klein let out a dry chuckle and took a sip of his fragment coffee. Old Neil sized him up and sighed. Do you think that you will find inspiration from the maxim of the mystery briars and Dolly? I have to praise the goddess. I also have to thank you for teachings. Klein gave a reply in all seriousness. Unc Neil pulled back a chair and sat down. He said, a little depressed. Oh, Unc Neil is depressed. I'm so sad. How good would it be if it was 20 years ago? Klein went, aww. Aww. Klein maintained his silence, for he knew that old Neil wasn't allowed to consume any more potions because of his age and health. Even if he had only completed it, he said, oh, he's gonna make me cry, man. Riri is 17 years old. I don't think he's... don't worry, he's 16 years old. He was born in 2009. Just think about that. Under such circumstances, anything he said would have agitated him. My earliest thoughts... what's this? My earliest thoughts was to quickly gain control of my potion from the maxim of the Mystery Briar, but regrettably I wasn't embarking in the right direction. Dolly's success did give me some clues, but I was already more than 50 years old back then. I had already given up on my efforts. I subsequently thought that her success was a result of her genius. An average person won't be able to emulate her achievements. Uncle Neil rubbed his temples as he described his disappointment. Man, like, I hate living life with regrets, and seeing like Unc Neil living his life with regrets makes me feel so fucking bad for him, man. He was silent for a few minutes before he lifted his head. He looked at Klein. I am sure it is regrettable that you understand that I missed out at this age. Uncle Neil children had a faint understanding that acting method. He immediately understood what happened after I shared my experiences. Klein consoled, I won't have made too much of a difference. The church doesn't hold the sequence 8 corresponding to mystery buyer. Fanbury is born in 2009, exposed. Uncle Neil shouldn't have had a faint understanding of... yeah. Perhaps the Holy Cathedral does have it. No, if they have it, they will at least tell us its name. It's also possible that the underground market might have it. Uncle Neil muttered. He shook his head as he stood up. He laughed and said, at least I didn't lose control and lived healthily for decades. Praise the lady. Damn. Aw, okay, Fanver, because I don't drink alcohol. I have drank in the past, but I never drink it, so I don't expect anyone else to drink it either. I don't smoke either. I don't vape. I used to vape a little bit, but not anymore. He drew a crimson wound in front of his chest and left the guard room, a little dejected. He lost his usual shrewd look. Klein looked at old Uncle Neil back and suddenly let out a long sigh. He was even more perplexed as to why the higher ups of the church would hide the acting method. Because, I don't know, maybe they don't want people to advance as fast because it's dangerous. I do the ganya? What's the ganya? What the fuck is a ganya? I'm the biggest millennial ever, by the way. Cannabis. Oh, yeah. I do the grass. I don't know what to call the. I don't know. Klein collected himself after some time, placing his attention on the confidential information of the Nighthawks in front of him. Ever since he pulled the youth from the City of Silver into the Dark Club, Derek, and learned that the City of Silver still used the ancient names for many things, he found it necessary to enhance his knowledge in these areas. Sometime later, he heard another set of footsteps. His footsteps were slow and steady. At the same time, image of Don Smith wearing black trench coat flashed past his mind. My spiritual senses have been elevated after fully digesting the seer potion. Klein nodded in understanding. He saw the captain a few seconds. Oh, a few seconds later. That's so cool. Is saying that autism doesn't exist offend people? It's because it's kind of ableist because you are saying that their issues are not real and it's made up, and people are like just acting or being different. That's why saying autism doesn't exist is offensive. Let's switch up the songs, guys. Other for you, Dunn extended his right arm and flicked his wrist, tossing the letter over to Klein. Klein lifted his hand and tried to grab the letter, but be it his judgment or reaction, he missed. Pah! The letter fell onto the floor, leaving Klein's right hand extended awkwardly in the air. Klein just lost aura, by the way. Under the suddenly silent atmosphere, his right hand first became rigid, then he pulled back toward his head and pretended to smooth out his hair. The light from the gas lamp isn't bright enough. Klein made a perfunctory statement casually. He bent his back and picked up the letter, giving it a cursory glance. Mr. Hornatzes, is it from Dexter Godarian? Oh, it's the guy who's from the insane asylum, right? He nodded in understanding and pulled up a drawer to retrieve the letter opener. According to the rules of Nighthawks, if there's a clear and correct recipient, Roseanne and the rest of the clerks would give the letter directly to the person who the letter was addressed to. If the recipient was anonymous or unknown name, it will be handed over to Dunn. He will then ask around to make a decision. Ryan carefully opened the letter and took out the piece of paper. He quickly He quickly unfolded the piece of paper and read through it. He realized that the asylum doctor Daxter was asking for an urgent meeting. Ooh, at 2 in the afternoon today. Let's go! As he obtained the telepathist formula, or is it regarding something else, Klein lifted the letter in his hand and asked and looked at Dunn. Captain, my informant was one of the psychology alchemists. He wishes to meet me at 2 in the afternoon. Does it say anything else? Dunn asked if he was as if he was expecting this. No, Klein shook his head. What are the chances that Dunn already read the letter before giving it to Klein? Dunn thought for a moment and he said, a heavy voice, get Leonard to watch over the Chinese gate for the time being. I'll go with you and hide somewhere. This urgent request to meet could sometimes be a trap. True, I heard of many similar incidents. Furthermore, if it's something important, we can act quickly. Captain, you are experienced, not to mention being the most reliable, trustworthy captain without memory issues whenever we have something serious to do. Klein immediately nodded. Alright, that was unnecessary, Klein, but okay. At 2 in the afternoon, inside the small shooting range, 9 of the 7 Suitland Street shooting club, Klein looked at the target that was covered in bullet holes, then glanced at the uneasy Dr. Daxter Guderian. Daxter feeling nervous a little bit. And who's acting is in their own career. What does that mean? What happened for you to look for mercenaries at the Hound Pub in such a fluster? Only by doing so will the boss of the Hound Pub right-hand the letter immediately to the Blackthorn Security Company instead of waiting for Klein to collect it himself. Daxter observed Klein's expression and body language and responded quickly. I find Rudy Hogan a little abnormal recently. Rudy Hogan was the patient from the mental asylum that roped Daxter into the psychology alchemist. What sort of abnormalities has he exhibited? Klein pressed, displaying his professionalism. Daxter gave a sigh of relief as he had found a pillar of support. He said, while he's deliberating his words, he seems to have gone insane. Really? Gone insane? Klein asked in shock. Didn't Hood Eugen feign his illness and infiltrate the mental asylum to attempt to influence the patients in order to train his mental abilities? He had really turned sick? Genuine insanity? I think so, Daxter paced around anxiously. I could hold a normal conversation with him in the past and receive guidance on how to correctly use my beyonder powers, but in the past few days his thought process and his condition has become really weird. I can barely communicate with him. He is just like other patients, even though I managed to get the telepathist formula as a result, but I cannot determine if it's real or fake. I'm afraid that there might be some uncontrollable changes that might occur. I was crazy once. No matter, as a seer who has mysterious world above the grey fog, I'll be able to determine if it's real or fake. Klein heaved a sigh of relief before creasing his brows and asking, did he come into contact with anyone before he turned abnormal? Only the patients. I cannot guarantee, though. I'm not in the asylum for the whole day. I need time to rest, Daxter said in an expression serious. Klein nodded as it was something trivial. Don't worry. I'll send someone to protect you in secret. You shall find out who Hugen had come into contact with as soon as possible. Lanevus. Also, you have to be careful. He might be testing you. You should also report this to the member of Psychology Alchemist and see how higher-ups of your organization react. Alright, Daxter propped up his golden spectacles. Recovering the spectacle is 2 monocles, right? Recovering the calm of a spectator. He then took out a piece of paper from his pocket and handed it over to Klein. This is the formula of telepathy's potion, but they cannot guarantee its authenticity. We will verify it. Klein smiled in response. He unfolded the piece of paper on the spot and looked at it. Main ingredients: the complete pituitary gland of mature rainbow salamander, 10 mils of spinal fluid from a farceman rabbit. Supplementary ingredients: chestnut spore, 5 grams, dragon tooth grass powder, 8 grams, 3 bottles of pure white elf flower, pure water, 100 millimeters. Spinal fluid is a real thing, I didn't know. Excellent, Klein folded the piece of paper and stuffed into the inner pocket of his tuxedo. After exchanging a few more words and asserting the voices which Daxter was hearing were subsidizing, Klein paid him farewell. He cautiously made his way to the shooting range reserved for the Nighthawks. Stan Smith was waiting inside. Captain, the informant gave me the telepathist formula to thank me for helping him control the side of effects of the potion, but he cannot determine the authenticity of the potion. Klein handed the piece of paper to Tan with a stern expression. Furthermore, he mentioned something else. When is Susie and Aldrich gonna advance to sequence 8? Soon, right? Can Susie even advance? Then read the formula as he listened to the concerns about Eugen after he nodded. I immediately assigned manpower to keep the mental asylum under surveillance. You haven't had professional training when it comes to these matters, and don't participate in this. Go back and cut Renegade. With that said, he looked at Klein deeply in the eye and said, if you take this formula into account, you don't need to accumulate any more materials achievements. You can directly receive the clown potion after your best examination. Good. You think they will advance in Volume 1? No. If maybe though, there's the whole side story in Packland. Yeah, I think so. I think OJ will, Susie won't. I don't know why, but I feel like Susie will die. No, why did I say that? I got sad now. 156, let's go. How many chapters in Volume 1? So Dexter, Eugen finally gone inside from all the rituals he has done with Lanebus, I guess. To summon the true creator. And Dexter gave us the formula. Okay, 216, easy. This Dexter is the Bay Asylum spectator? Exactly, yeah. He's the one that's in the insane asylum. Oh, 213, okay, that's cool. I think we can do it next week. What do you guys think? Next week? Before Christmas? Wait, next week is Christmas. Should we do a special like Christmas Day stream? Where we finish Volume 1 on Christmas Day? I'll dress up as Santa Claus or something. I can't drink coffee anymore because of my ADHD medication. I'll die. You will be busy? Okay. What the fuck is a boxing day? I'll do a poll. Oh my god. For join my Discord by the way if you haven't. I'll do a poll this weekend when we should read the finale of Season 1. And then we're gonna start Volume 2 just after Christmas. Melissa, who takes in the long view. Day after Christmas? Oh, okay. Let's go, 156. Melissa, who takes the long view. Oh, Melissa chapter, interesting. Panber, to your message. I just want to say this about autism. I'll maybe see. Yeah, I'm not gonna stream on Xmas then. Maybe like 20. When is Xmas? When is Christmas? What date? 25. I think I'll be with family as well, so we can do like 23 or 22. What do you think? When Fanber said, I wonder if I got autism. And then this is me. Me. Era. Yeah, yeah. 25 is Christmas, I might do it 23 then. And then 26 will start, or 27, we'll start Volume 2. Anyway. Also, I wanna show you this. This is not offensive or anything, because this is literally written on my ADHD medication. And it's pretty funny. So it has some different languages, right? And it says this. I don't know what language this is. But I don't want to say it out loud, but this is what it says, by the way. 156. Melissa who takes the long view, and I'm paying double for the clown's formula. And all this because I originally wanted to be awarded double for the same piece of work I did. Forget it, I don't have the opportunity to mention that. I already have the formula to the clown potion. Klein took a deep breath and forced a smile, saying, hopefully I can pass the examination smoothly. He was more than happy with Tan's decision for him to continue to guard Chinese gate. Not only was he lacking the professional ability to monitor and investigate, but his hand-to-hand combat was far from satisfactory. In terms of when he drinks the clown potion, I think his combat abilities improve a lot. German word, probably, yeah. In terms of shooting, he was considered a decent compared to the ordinary police. However, his teammates were all beyonders that have had their physical attributes enhanced. Even if they were all marksman level, they were very close. As for hand-to-hand combat, Klein was merely a beginner. Even with Slumber Charm, a Repose Charm, and a Dream Charm, he was still considered a support class beyonder. It could be easy for him to deal with ordinary people, but he would be in danger if he were to come across any beyonders who were adept at combat. Until I had advanced to sequence 8, and become skilled in technique-based battles and master a handful of spells, I can only complete normal supernatural missions on my own. If I successfully steal the power of sealed artifact 30782 and make flaring sun charms, that will be even better. It won't be impossible for me to win from a position of underdog. Klein thought hopefully as he slowly walked back at the Blackthorn security company. The next morning, when he ended his shift and left Chinese Gate, the Nighthawks still hadn't obtained any useful information from monitoring the Hood-Yugen. For now, they had placed their hopes on their informant's internal investigation. When he returned home, Klein had his breakfast quietly and laid down in his bedroom to sleep until noon. He woke up naturally, washed up, and walked to the first door, following the smell of cooking. Melissa is preparing lunch. Klein looked at Benson, who was reading the newspaper in the living room. Benson lowered the newspaper and said, "Yes, she has a quest visiting today. I want her to chat with her quest while I prepare lunch, but she doesn't trust my cooking and took the quest into the kitchen." Who? Friend, maybe? Also, how is my skin looking, guys? I've been doing skin care. I've been moisturizing, cleansing, and putting sunscreen. I think my skin looks so much like better now. How rude. Benson, you actually managed to quickly realize that Melissa had to test your culinary skills. Klein held back his urge to laugh and walked towards the single-seat sofa as he asked, "Melissa's quest? Yeah, you should know her, Elizabeth." "Oh, Elizabeth, I met her at Sina's dinner banquet." Benson leaned backwards and continued to read his newspaper comfortably. It wasn't only for the dinner banquet, she came to visit for real. Klein turned to look at the kitchen with a stunned expression. Just then, you don't see a difference? Thanks. I'm shining. That's what I wanted to say. Just then, Melissa walked and carried some plates, and Elizabeth followed behind, also wearing an apron. "Klein, ready up. I was just planning to wake you up." Melissa laid the plates on the dining table diligently as she said, "This is Elizabeth. You know her." "Hello, Klein." Elizabeth's adorable face. No baby fat this time? Oh my god, no baby fat. Adorable face flashed a splendid smile as she greeted him. Klein replied gently and politely. After they greeted, Melissa blinked and spoke seriously. "Elizabeth will follow us to the Family Servant Assistance Association, Hader. They hire a few maidservants at home, so she has experience in that. Her opinions might be helpful. Actually, we've already drawn up the requirements for picking a maidservant. Listen to this and see if there's anything that needs to be added." That's my job, to tell the truth? Okay. Didn't Klein always call Elizabeth having adorable baby fat? Or am I just making that up? I think there is. Melissa wiped her hands on her apron and took out a piece of paper from the pocket of her home clothes. She opened it and read out loud. "Healthy, hardworking and responsible, good at cooking, quiet not rowdy, simple family background, looks ordinary." Looks ordinary? What the fuck? Okay, I mean, that's fine. That's fine. I guess that's fine. But, like, why would that put specifically there? Why would you put looks ordinary there? I don't understand. Her healthy, hardworking, and responsible, good at cooking, quiet, not rowdy, simple, family background, looks ordinary. It's like someone's boyfriend application, guys. She read the requirements one by one. Klein and Benson quaked in the vacant look. They never expected that hiring a maidservant would be so troublesome. Melissa, weren't you against the idea of hiring a maidservant? Klein subsequently asked when his sister stopped. Melissa pursed her lips and nodded solemnly. Yes, I was against it, but as my physician was in vain, I thought we should get this thing done properly. To be able to get it done well, we must be well prepared. Do you have anything you would like to add? No, Klein and Benson shook their heads in unison, causing Elizabeth to laugh. After lunch, the four of them took a public carriage to the Ting and Family Servant Assistance Association on Champagne Street. It was similar to domestic help firms that Klein knew from his previous life, but it was also a little like a charity. They recorded the personal information and job requirements of different maidservants so that the clients could make their selections more easily, while maximizing the maidservant's chances of employment. How many of you guys have a maid? Part of the organization funding came from charity organizations, and some came from percentage of the payment provided by employers. Upon entering the association, Klein Company were greeted formally. A young lady in a pale yellow ruffled dress led them to the sofas. She smiled and asked, "How may I help you?" Benson was pushed forward by his brother and said, "We need to hire a maidservant." "Do you have any requirements?" the young lady asked, like clockwork. Who the fuck has a maid? My friend from Saudi Arabia. No one else can see here. Oh, there's Schizo. Spencer recalled his siblings' lack of faith in his culinary skills as he sincerely good at cooking. Good at cooking, the young lady creased his eyebrows and said, "To be frank, there are no excellent cooks among the maidservants. Why not hire a chef instead? If you need female chef, we have quite a number of them in the association." Why would you need specifically a female chef? You think you're vampires? No. I'm just asking. I'm sorry. There's no one who is good at cooking among the maidservants. Melissa couldn't help but got in as her initial plan was set back. Yeah, I mean, if you have a maidservant, why would she need to cook as well? Like, it's like hiring someone in a company and you want them to do design and programming. Cooking and being a maid is a two different thing, I'm pretty sure, right? So yeah. Anyway. The young lady nodded and answered affirmatively. The maidservants are either the daughters of lower-class laborers or girls from their villages. They have few opportunities to learn culinary skills. Even after the simple training provided by the association, the most we can guarantee is that their food won't make people sick. That's crazy. Yeah, maid can just lock in. I mean, Melissa can teach the maid. Like, cooking is not that hard, right? I cook. I made crispy chicken sandwiches yesterday. It was really good. Melissa fell silent, finally realizing that it meant to have situation outpace her plans. That is regrettable. Benson thought, reorganizing his words, he said, "Maybe we can amend our requirement to a maidservant who is willing and capable of learning to cook." Yes, Benson, exactly. Exactly. Made up words? What do you mean? Not bad. Benson is quick-witted. There's no need for me to interject. Klein sat by the side, holding his cane and hat comfortably. No problem. During cooking training, we took note of girls who had outstanding performance. The young lady replied with a professional smile. Any other requirements? Yes. Benson felt the burn of Melissa's gaze. He swallowed his saliva and took out a piece of paper from his pocket. He then read the items one by one. Chicken sandwich? Crispy chicken sandwich? How does that not exist? The young lady listened quietly and only responded after quite a while. I'll check first through the records and recommend some maidservants that fit that criteria. You don't have to decide immediately. You can pick 2 or 4 of them. Then I will bring them each over to cook for you once. What the hell? You can decide who to employ then. Of course, you will have to pay the association some extra fees and also be able to prepare your own ingredients. Alright, Benson folded the paper politely. Also, ordinary looks. What does that mean? Because beauty is very subjective, in my opinion, right? Um, no problem. Benson held back his urge to laugh and he answered. Young lady stood up and walked towards the office, but she turned around after taking 2 steps. She smiled and said, "Can you best me that paper? I'm worried I will forget some of your requirements." "No problem." Benson held back his urge to laugh and answered. After a while, the young lady in the pale yellow dress came out with a stack of documents and I passed it to Benson. The information had each of the maidservants' real name, birth date, family situation, facial expression, facial description, health status, past experience, rated traits, expected salary, and other information. Interesting. Like a video game. Seizing the opportunity when Benson and Melissa were reading the information, Elizabeth got closer to Klein and asked herself, "Do you have any requirements?" "Yes, but the information isn't specific enough," Klein answered perfunctorily. Elizabeth got even more interested. "How could you choose?" Klein smiled and pointed at the hidden pendulum in his left sleeve. "You will find the best person to become our maidservant by writing down a corresponding statement about each candidate and eliminating them one after another." Elizabeth was stunned, nodding vacantly in nearly 20 seconds. "The simplest and the most effective way. I totally forget that you are..." She didn't finish her sentence since Melissa, who had sharp senses, noticed that they were whispering and had looked over. She looked at her best friend and her brother, then she saw the expression of deep thought. "Oh my god, does Melissa think Elizabeth likes Klein and they're dating or something? Pretty maids cost more? I mean, yeah, it's fucked." Subjective, only comparing 10s and 10s. I mean, what I think is a 10, you might think is an 8. What I think is a 5, you think it's a 7, and I think it's stupid to rate people. It's not stupid. Maybe I worded it wrong. It's yeah, I don't like it. She didn't finish. Yeah. "Hey sis, don't misunderstand. We're just talking normally." Klein coughed and picked up some of the information and casually read through them. Very soon they picked 3 candidates. They were asking for 4 solely 8 pence to 5 solely 2 pence per week. That's decent price. I don't find women attractive, so I just charge men. It's good to find both attractive so you can charge both of them, like me. Benson didn't haggle over the maidservant's pay, but instead discussed the percentage needed to pay to the association. After some friendly haggling, he successfully negotiated the price from the maidservants who, for 2 weeks, paid to... He successfully negotiated the maidservants' 2 weeks pay to 1 week pay instead. Bro, you are... Okay, that's crazy. Don't the maidservants get the money, not the company? What the fuck? After that, Elizabeth paid the trio farewell and left. So, like, greedy. Damn. As Elizabeth paid the farewell and left with the siblings, took a public carriage back to Daffodil Street. On the way back, she was getting uncomfortable under Melissa's scrutinizing gaze. When he got home, he went to the 2nd floor directly. "Klein." Melissa called him in a serious... Klein! Melissa called him in a serious tone after Drew consideration. She said, "If you want to get engaged with Elizabeth, you have to work harder. Her father is an important merchant and her mother is the daughter of a baronet." "Wait, engaged? When this happened?" Klein looked at his sister in confusion. "How far-reaching is her concern?" Oh my god. That's funny. Melissa is so cool. I guess the maidservant was never there in the donghua, so it's interesting to see what kind of person she is, right? That'd be so fucking cool to find out. I love new characters. Are you calling Masters a loser? Oh, Klein Stows! What's up? How are you doing? Let's keep breathing, guys. No, we are not. Need to blow my nose. What the fuck? I just grabbed the tissue and AI was like... Can you see that? AI says, go ahead and grab a tissue. Would you like me to find the nearest farm? What? I was about to blow my nose and AI was like, do you need tissues? What? That's great. Did you hear that? Did the microphone pick up? He was yapping to me about tissues. How is that possible? Wait, did I click something on accident? Like side button or something? I don't fucking know. Jarvis. No, we are not. Klein didn't have the chance to say. No, we are not. Klein didn't have a chance to. What's just happened, bro? This is crazy. Had to retort before Benson interrupted with a smile. Although Elizabeth is indeed a little young and her family is more outstanding than ours, I find the two of you quite suitable for each other. But you might have to wait a few more years. She's still studying at a public school and wants to enter university. Marriage will be something that consider only to 6-7 years later. Of course, you can get engaged sooner than that. Can you guys not think that far? Klein took a deep breath. Something is so wholesome and like fun and cutesy and warm about this interaction, by the way. That's what happened, username, okay. 6 or 7. 6 to 7 years. I'm such a fucking child, man. I do not fancy Elizabeth, or well, more accurately, I do not fancy a girl who's younger than me by too much. I prefer girls who are more mature. Damn. Good taste. Truthfully, can accept anyone within a reasonable age gap, just not now. He added inwardly in exasperation. You like girls who are more mature? Melissa knitted her brows. Then you should quickly settle the issue regarding your marriage. Ah? Klein will understand his sister's leap in logic, cast in confusion why. Melissa explained seriously, you'll be about 25 when you finish saving up for your marriage. I'm 25 right now. Girls are more mature than you will either be married or engaged when they reach that age. Do you want to chase after a widow? What the? Klein thought to himself in Mandarin as he wore a blank expression. Benson smiled and refuted his sister. Melissa, you don't understand, in this day and age, it's rare to see women in their 30s who isn't married or engaged within the middle class. They're mostly followers of the goddess and all, like nuns, and have the ability to provide for themselves. They would rather be single than stuck in a marriage that they are not satisfied with. Yes, that's what I read from Family magazine. Is that so? Melissa was 16-year-old girl after all. She didn't have a great understanding concerning matters like this. Upon seeing his siblings getting roused up from the conversation, Klein coughed and said, what I meant by mature is their mental state. They don't need to be older than me. Furthermore, the person that should be worried about their marriage is Benson. I'm sorry, brother. I had no choice. He apologized in his heart. Aww. Lisa froze for a moment and nodded heavily. That's right. Benson was just about to elaborate on the martial problems the middle class when he suddenly shivered. He looked at his sister who was staring at him and said, I'm now at the cusp of turning point in my life. I have to devote all my attention to studying. I'll only be confident of chasing after my desired girl when I have found a job that I'm satisfied with and a reasonable amount of savings. Only then I will be able to provide her with a good life. Benson is just like me, by the way. You know why? I'm 25. I'm going to university next year for the very first time. And I am a little behind on life. I'm a little slow, you know. Klein and Melissa froze and asked in unison, you have a girl that you fancy? Benson, who had merely given a perfunctory reply, was shocked. He shook his head in a hurry. No. I was merely giving an example. In a dark, gloomy... No, actually, going back to background, I love that, but we are also going away from this cute family interaction. Damn it. Why is Dolly... Ooh, I wonder if Dolly is gonna join the Tarot Club. What is Benson? No, Benson can't join the Tarot Club because he will know that. Also, Benson's not a Beyonder. But what if Dolly joins the Tarot Club? I wonder. Dolly X Dun. Yep, that's the correct ship. In a dark, gloomy house of Backland, Hillston Borough, a middle-aged man with graying hair, not me, sat silently on a rocking chair in front of the unlit fireplace with a dark-colored pipe in his hand. He looked at the guest on the sofa. He was the master of this building, Isengard Staden. Isengard, a private detective with a notable fame. Ooh! I'm just gonna go on a heavy guess here and say that this guy will be like a mentor for Klein in season 2 or something. Because isn't Klein's like fake name something Moriarty from Sherlock Holmes? Isengard Staden, a private detective with a notable fame, but he didn't set up an office, merely hiring assistants to assist him. Ooh, Klein is gonna be assistant. Gonna copy this is good info. Isengard, who was dressed in a white shirt, a black vest, I did take note, yep, I did. Brought the pipe to his lips and inhaled in an intoxicated manner before slowly exhaling. The fee for 30-minute consolation is £1. If I were you, I would definitely not waste a second. The two ladies on the sofa across from... Oh, for fours. Okay, no, maybe not. And Shio. They found materials relating to Vice Admiral Hurricane Chilangos and wanted to ask his detective to consolidate the habits and actions of the target. Of course, they had removed Chilangos' name and changed the description regarding the supernatural incidents. Shio Terecha handed folder containing documents of Isengard's assistant, a brown-haired young man wearing a gold-framed spectacles. Spectacles again. Mr. Detective, I hope that you can... Mr. Detective, I hope that you can find habits in the target action using the materials we have provided. Even though she wasn't tall, Shio had an air of authority when she sat straight and spoke with deep voice. I'm gonna show you a funny thing, by the way. This is how Shio thinks she looks like, how Shio actually looks like. Agree? No, actually, like, she has authority, it was said. So, how people think Shio looks like, how Shio actually looks like on the left. That's better, maybe. She gives off so much authority aura, you know what I mean? He sat down, even though she wasn't tall, Shio had an air of authority even when she sat straight and spoke with a deep voice. Isengard stared at her and received the docket from his assistant. He opened the folder and took out the material within. He sat down his pipe and focused on reading page after page without missing a single one. 10 minutes later, the gentleman slowly tapped on the handle. The target was an obsession with the wind. He won't stay for long in a polluted area in Backland. The captain of Dust. In other words, he will be staying at Empressborough, Westborough, Hillstonborough, Sherwoodborough, or the suburbs of the North Borough. That's a lot of boroughs, my guy. Target is psychotic serial killer with a need to kill someone every other day. The most logical thing he will do is to target the vagrants that have nowhere to go. Even the police have no records of the exact number of vagrants in Backland. So homeless people, right? Target won't give living in an area too near or too far from Northborough or Backland Bridge, which have highest concentration of vagrants. It will be the act of someone unsophisticated to search for victims that are too close to him. That isn't so consistent with your descriptions. If the target has to spend a large amount of time before he can find someone to murder, then he might lose control of his desires and commit crimes that will easily expose him. Interesting. Target is an experienced sailor and has exceptional mobility in the water. A reasonable deduction would be he will be living somewhere too far from the water. If anything unexpected happens, then would be his best means to escape. He is probably next to the homeless, like the slums, but not inside the slums, but close enough to the slums where he can get them, right? Really fast. So outskirts of the slums. Yeah, it's a capital of dust. He hates that shit. In summary, we can outline the possible radius of the activity of the target. He will be living somewhere close to Backland Beach area, perhaps somewhere close to both banks of the Tussock River, the Westboro and the Sherwood Borough. And only deduced this from the materials that I have given me. Even though they didn't understand all of it, his deduction seemed to make sense. Gio and Force looked at each other and nodded. They looked back to the materials and stood up to leave. Seeing his assistant send off 2 ladies, Isengard took out a bronze item from the vest pocket. It was an open paperback book. In the middle of the book was a vertical eye. Vertical eye, like, oh shit, that's scary as shit. There are a lot of eyes. And close to the river. Yeah, so edge of the slums, close to the river. Not too far away. But not in the slums itself. Isengard rocked his chair, rubbing the item while softly muttering to himself, Chilangos and has infiltrated Backland. What the fuck is a vertical eye? Only an eye? Or is it like sitting on top of each other like a secret organization, secret order logo? I wonder. In the particular basement of Brits Harbor. Ooh, so Forrest and Xiao hired this detective, and he seems very smart, and they deducted where he is. But also said the line at the end here that he has infiltrated Backland, which is very ominous. The true creator has eye. True creator, true. That's what it simplifies. In particular, basement of Brits Harbor, in Hanged Man Alger. Ooh! Sat in a chair looking coldly at the struggling man. The man was dressed like a sailor. His head was enveloped by a film of pale blue water, and his face was purple from holding his breath. He was scratching at the film on his face with both hands, but the eagle too was flick droplets of liquid. Finally, he could no longer hold his breath and gave a signal of submission. So he's torturing someone. Alger smiled and nonchalantly clapped his hand. Ooh, nonchalant king. The thin film of water dispersed, turning into droplets that fell onto the ground. The sailor took in a deep breath and coughed violently. He coughed so hard that it tugged at his heart and lungs. After waiting for the man to recover, Olga leaned back. He emulated the peaceful and calm tone of the fool. Tell me the reason why Chilangos went to Backland. He's trying to complete a commission, but I'm not sure about the details. The pirate had completely lost his will to resist. He answered honestly. All I know is that he might receive something that he wants. Chilangos once posed in front of us. He said his mission was a success. He would be able to obtain something he dreamed of getting for a long time. The 4 pirate kings will then become the 5 pirate kings. Chilangos wants to be a pirate king. An object he has been dreaming of obtaining. The One Piece? Alger knitted his brows and slipped into deep thought. Artifact maybe, but what kind of artifact? Klein interest on Monday morning. Oh fuck me, really? We know that the creeping hunger, but doesn't he already have that? Alger is moving mad. He is. What was the name of the other pirate that, or like sailor he was going after? Someone remind me of his name. Not Chilangos, the other guy. Fuck, I forgot his name. Do I have it written down? Listener. The listener, exactly. Yeah. I do have it written down. The listener, okay. Ooh, the listener is such a fucking creepy name, by the way. Like, oh, the listener is always listening. The particular basement, yeah. Find the interest on Monday morning. Kid named Jack. Yeah. Jack Sparrow. Isn't the listener such a fucking cool name? Find the interest on Monday morning. He followed his plan and continued his investigation on the building with red chimneys in Dingen. Unfortunately, he didn't come across his target. He returned home near noon. He had up the leftovers from yesterday dinner and paired them with bread before taking an hour nap. At about 20 minutes to 3 in the afternoon, Klein put his book down and seated his room with a wall of spirituality, once again entering the mysterious world above the grey fog, unless the listener is Chilangos. He sat in the seat of honor in the ancient bronze table, extending his hand toward the crimson star representing sun while ignoring the frequency of his heartbeats. The City of Silver! Let's fucking go! Finally! Derek Bird was sweating on the practice grounds. His vision suddenly blurred as heavy fog entered his view. He saw the fool sitting high above the deep within the fog. He froze, then stopped whatever he was doing in the bow and bowed his head. When the illusion sharp ears, yeah, what did he say? It was interpreted later. He locked himself in a bathroom. What? He froze, then stopped whatever he was doing and bowed his head. When the illusion vanished, he counted his heartbeat silently and varied his silver sword to the rest area quickly. 1,000 heartbeats later, he locked into the bathroom. After about 10 breaths, he saw the red light swell over him and swallow him in an instant. Above the grey fog, Klein leaned back into his chair and tapped his left molar twice to stealthily activate his spirit vision. He saw that the mottled color deep within the sun ether body had turned pure, akin to the light of dawn. He smiled and said, "Congratulations, Mr. Bard. So he consumed the potion. Let's fucking go. It's Monday!" At the same time, he saw the star behind the sun share shift quickly, turning into a symbol of the sun. It transformed without my will, as if it was a reflection of the sun. Oh! Other than the ballast table and shares, the items that I conjure cannot be preserved once I leave this world. They are very special. There sure are many secrets to this world above the grey fog. Klein took in everything in front of him as he contemplated. Derek lowered his head and replied humbly, "This is all to your assistance. This is but the beginning." He was surprised that the fool knew what he had consumed the potion. Klein took out his silver pocket watch and looked at the time. He chuckled and said, "Let us start the gathering. Remember, the frequency, or should I say gap between the gatherings, should be about the same in the future." As he was speaking, he established a connection with the crimson stars representing justice and the hanged man before pulling them into a majestic palace. Audrey looked at the scene before he immediately greeted him. "Good afternoon, Mr. Fool. I have a page of a diary Emperor Cell with me." "Good afternoon, Mr. Sun." "Good afternoon, Mr. Sun. Have you gotten the formula for telepathist?" "Actually, we have the formula. Fine." Now, do you guys like Mondays? I'm gonna hate you guys, because I'm gonna keep reading on Thursday. Yes, I'm gonna stop streaming here because I promised my friends to go to gym with them. So it's weird that I rate people based on their voice. I have native ears, but I know you have a nice voice. You think I have a nice voice? Thank you. I have a really unique accent, I'm pretty sure. Oh, that's such a humble glaze. Thank you so much. That's cute. Thank you. Anyway, what I was saying, it made me blush now. Yeah, Monday meeting. We're gonna do it on Thursday. Maybe a little bit later in the day, so more people can come. Also, yeah, we are after Chilangos. Chilangos is in Backland. We met, what was his name? Isengard Staden, a private detective in Backland, who might be a bigger character in Volume 2 as well. You sure it's observer and not listener? Ooh. I cliffhangered you guys, I did. But we're gonna start off with the meeting on not Monday, on Thursday. Yeah. I just can't stop thinking about Force and Xiao. How like interesting it is how it was completely left out from the donghua, and right now it's like half of the volume. Right now at the end here, we are like 50 chapters left or something like that, like 70 chapters, 60 chapters left, and I just can't stop thinking how what's a lot of chapters left actually, but yeah, we can do it in a week. How they were just left out, and if they're gonna be a really big characters in season 2, I really hope that they won't die or something happen to them in the end of volume 1. I want Shio or Force or both of them to join the Tarot Club eventually, right? Audrey might recruit them. That's gonna be so cool. Also, I want to learn more about Derek, and I want to see more of City of Silver and the characters in City of Silver. Like I feel like Derek is gonna go and spread the word of the fool on the streets in the City of Silver, you know? Okay, cool. Thank you for coming, guys. I'll see you soon. Thank you for the subscriptions and likes and everything. See you soon. Bye bye.